for the critics, my words are like physics, a force that they can't stop. They just don't get it, I think they forget I'm not done till I'm on top. I know I was born for this. I know I was born for this. I believe we can write our story.
All right, hey everybody, how you doing? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, Ohio, half a day, all the above. It's Gary here once again, Words from the Wise podcast, and today, man, I'm super excited. I got what I consider to be a Seventh Fleet. I'm definitely a legend in my generation, right? Because over in Japan, you just got these guys that are known throughout the waterfront. And so, without further ado, let me bring him to the stage. What's up, Mr. Dean Howell? What's up, man?
What's up? What's up, Gary? How you doing, man?
Brother, I'm good, bro. I can't complain. I'm in Florida. I'm in my home Chiefs mess.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be like you, bro. I remember you were one of the first people from, I would say, our community, my network of influence that I saw consistently out sharing energy via video.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm very interested to catch up with you on that, hopefully at some point during the conversation, because you were doing the damn thing, man. You were hitting it consistently, and it was very inspiring, man. It was because, a lot of us, we hesitate to show kind of our inner thoughts, or because we have our public persona, we have what we're doing for the job, and we're always worried about being the face of the command or the Navy or whatever. But then you were also kind of putting yourself out there, morning walks around your Costa, right? Going for a run, on travel somewhere, taking everyone for a walk and showing them the views. I remember being in Guam watching that. So, bro, shout out to you, man, for being a trailblazer in this space.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I had to take a break in 24. I just keep it real. And maybe I'll pick it back up and we can get into the conversation as we go. But in 24, I kind of had to take a break, and I'll share with your audience and whoever sees this. Kind of went through some pretty serious, I'll just call it, man, depression in 2024. And I really wasn't in a place where I needed to put anything out there,
I do know. Yeah.
So, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of us that are out there putting some things into the space, and I think that we need more of that, right? Like, some people call it like talking heads or whatever, but this is where, if we're talking Navy specifically, right? Like, this is where our sailors, this is where they consume their content, right? This is where they get their things, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or whatever. I mean, I look at my kids, and our sailors are the same age as my kids now, right? Yeah. And my kids don't watch TV, man. They don't watch AFN. Like, you do an AFN spot, like, nobody's watching that. You know what I mean? And so if you want to get a message across, it's going to come through here, So shout out to the boys over at Permission to Speak Freely. They've been very consistent and have refined their content over the last few years. And there's several, right? Kudos to you as well, man. Like, getting it done, dude. So, yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
I'm so excited for you to be here. What's funny is, for me, I retired from the service. I'm a teacher now, a high school guy, right? So a lot of my students will listen to these podcasts, or will watch them, or listen to them, or their parents, right? So that's one of the ones. And then, of course, my community here in Ocala, that was kind of my other metric that I was looking to kind of communicate with, because in my community, there's not that many of me, right? I'm in North Central Florida. Yeah, I'm 2 hours from Jacksonville. Yeah, I'm 2 hours from Tampa. But you're not going to walk outside and just find another one of me or of you, right? Whereas when you're on a Navy base, we're a group. We know each other, right? We kind of know where each other's at. And so, as a part of my brand, which is my high school JROTC unit, right?
Sure.
I want to build a space where everyone's like, oh, that's the only Navy unit in this whole area. And if my kid goes to that school, they get access to that guy, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then, you know, I got into this leadership development space because I got this certification and they wanted me to do that. And I started that, but then it felt like a job working for somebody else. I'm like, bro, I'm not here to do all that, man. Like, part of being the luxury of being a retired Master Chief is I don't have to work for you, bro. Like, I have the choice to choose to want to serve with you or not.
Yeah.
And it just became, the guy told me when I was leaving their organization, he was like, well, you know what, Gary, nobody reads writing anymore because of AI. And I was like, you know what? Check. Guess what, though? It's a lot easier to talk anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You can't fake this, right?
Yeah. Erica was like, hey, why don't you talk to some of your buds from the military and see if they want to talk? And, brother, it has just been people just hand in the air because they everyone likes a good, authentic conversation, right? No will, just talking the talk, like in the mess, just talking the talk and enjoying the night, right? So that's kind of what and it's become a creative outlet, right? I didn't see that part coming, right? It's become a creative outlet. It's become, to your point, when it comes to mental health, because I've gone through it, bro. Like, I have gone through it, and this has become therapeutic because I get to reconnect with people that I knew in my past life, plus having a sense of like going to men's group without having to go and like reintroduce myself to people every time, right? My name is Gary, and I know I'm a believer, right? Right?
Yeah, I get it, man.
Yeah, man. It's become a lot of fun, man, and just sharing stories. So here we go, bro. You are from are you from Louisiana or are you
I
from
grew up in Louisiana,
Arkansas?
bro.
Louisiana.
Yeah, I grew up in Louisiana. So little town called Winfield, Louisiana. So Winfield is we like to call it the birthplace of two governors. So you may have seen or heard of Huey P. Long. There's a movie called The Kingfisher. So Huey P. Long was a big political figure. He was assassinated, actually. He was a rival to FDR. And so a lot of people thought that he was going to run for president. Anyway, so he was from Winfield. He's actually a cousin of mine. And then his brother, his younger brother, was also a governor of Louisiana, both from Winfield, Louisiana. And so that's where I was born. Grew up till I was about 14, and then moved to Texas when I was 14. Me and my mom picked up. She was a teacher. Both my parents were teachers. My dad was a teacher and then a high school principal, and then he worked for the State Department of Education in Louisiana. Anyways, they split when I was 14, and so she and I picked up and moved to Texas. We had some friends that were already over there, and my older sister had already moved over there. Teachers make a lot more money in Texas than they do in Louisiana. So moved to Texas, and then I was in Texas basically from 14 until I joined the Navy. So I went to high school in Texas, graduated from Vidor High School, and then went to Lamar University for about 3 years.
Right.
And then joined the Navy when I was about 21. So, and then when I'm done, I'm going back to Texas, man. That's home for me. That's my home of residence, or that's my residence, my home of record. And I love Louisiana. Obviously, I'm a Louisiana boy, but I would never live there.
Okay.
And I can't wait to go back to Texas here in couple of years. I got about 2 years left. Well, about a year and a half, and then I'll head back to Texas when I'm done. So
right. So I was going to ask you, because, I know you're a big LSU fan, right? I know you're a fan of exactly, right? You and Ty Giles are like my two favorite LSU fans in my world, right? You and Ty are always doing that, and so I knew you were connected to Louisiana. I wasn't sure exactly what flavor, what part, and then I understand there is a lot of cross breeding between like North Louisiana, South Arkansas, Texas, all this area, right? And when you went to Texas at 14, was that a significant culture shift for you?
So I'll tell you, man. The town I grew up in Winfield was it was about half and half, black and white. So
Okay.
I grew up in a town that was, split pretty much right down the middle. And my stepmom's black, and I mean I've known her my whole life basically, right?
Mhm.
And then I moved to a town in Texas, Vidor, that I graduated with about 300 kids. And everybody was white. Everybody.
Okay.
And so yeah, that was a culture shock for me. I was like,
Right.
what is happening? Like, what? There's no diversity here. And
Right.
so that was weird for me actually. But and then Texas is just different, right? But I'll say this about Texas is Texas just makes more sense, man. Right? Like that's Texas, like that specific town is got
Right.
its issues, right? Vidor. If you look up Vidor, Texas, you're going to see a lot of kind of bad press about it, but it's a good place. But Texas just makes sense, right? Like,
Mhm.
just
Almost everybody I know, bro.
kind of like Florida, right? Kind of like
Yep.
Florida. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
Louisiana, they elect the wrong fucking people, and they have run. I mean, Louisiana is a wonderful place, man. It's a beautiful, wonderful. I mean, it's this wonderful place, but they just run it into the ground. They overtax the people. It's just
Right.
it's like Hawaii, right? You ever been stationed in
I
Hawaii? It's like paradise lost.
I
It's
guess
kind of like that, right?
why I asked is because 14 is such an important time, right? Like
Yeah,
you're going into high school, and then I understand that Louisiana has its own flavor, right? It's got its
that's right.
own culture, right? And I understand that like New Orleans and Houston have a lot of similarities and they're so close. But I also know throughout my career, because my Navy career, I met a lot of people from the South. I'm from
Mm-hmm.
Utah originally, right? I didn't
Yeah,
grow up
yeah,
in the South. I grew up in Utah. But
yeah.
throughout my Navy journey, I mean, my best friend was when I joined the Navy, my best friend was from Slidell, Louisiana. And him and I
Slidell.
tried to join the Navy together, and he
Yeah,
didn't pass the ASVAB, and I did, right?
yeah.
But he was my first introduction to Louisiana and talking about that. And then in the service, I met, a lot of guys from Texas, a lot of guys. It was the 90s, right? It was Master
Oh,
P, No Limit. That was the
yeah.
flavor of the time period, right? And so I know there's a lot of flavor and history there, and I can imagine going through your parents going through their stuff, and then you
Mhm.
relocating, going into high school in a completely different area, community, and then you kind of answered the mail for me by it was just geography was different, the population was different, and a
Yeah,
lot of stuff. But what's good is you remember it fondly, and then of course I get why you're going there, bro.
yeah,
Everybody I talk to is they're either going to Texas or Florida, right?
yeah,
Um, and there you go.
yeah.
So then you graduate high school, and when you're going through
Mhm.
high school, you said you went to college for a couple of years.
Yeah. So yeah, high school was great, man.
Okay.
We moved to initially we moved to where my mom lives now, which is on Lake Sam Rayburn. It's like a resort, kind of like what's this? Gary, you have to forgive me, man. I was diagnosed with post concussive disorder. Imagine that, right? So I lose words sometimes, right?
Okay.
Um, the Ozark. Anyway,
Like
so
that TV show.
yeah, that one. You know what I'm talking
Okay.
about? So
Yep.
anyway, so it's kind of like that where my mom lives, beautiful lake, and that's where I'm going to retire. But um, when we first moved there, it was a small town, small school. It's like a 1A school. They just had basketball was the only sport they had. Went to school there for 1 year. Varsity basketball as a freshman, and then we moved to Vidor. Now I'm in a 5A school.
Ooh, okay.
But then varsity basketball as a sophomore. Hey,
Right. Good
and
for
then
you.
and then but again, I told you about the demographics of the school. We were 5A, but we're playing against like Baytown Lee,
Texas.
Baytown Sterling,
Yeah.
North Shore, LaPorte, like Houston schools, right? So
Right.
we're just getting annihilated at every sport.
Right.
And then my junior year, we moved down to 4A. And then we're a little more competitive in football and basketball. But yeah, then I actually had a full ride academic scholarship to Lamar University. I was an honors English major, pre-law, actually, and my stepdad and most of my so my stepdad and most of my stepbrothers, so the Packard family, are all attorneys, and so the idea was that I was going to join the firm, right? And so yeah, I had a full ride to Lamar University. I lost it after my first semester, lost my scholarship. I just didn't
Was
wake
that
up.
just due to grades or what?
I just didn't wake up for class, man. I was
Oh, there you go. That'll do it. But you weren't there for probably you, right? You were just doing what you kind of thought you were supposed to do,
I
right?
was doing what I was supposed to do. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's a lot of people in life, bro. They're
yeah,
just kind of I see this all the time. I'm around kids all day long, and well, these kids are refreshing. They are trying to figure out what they're going to do. And the reverse of them is you were in this situation where what you were supposed to do was go to college, become a lawyer, right? What
mhm.
these kids are supposed to do is just graduate anything is better.
Yeah,
So, my son is now a senior, and he has a lot of advantages that a lot of these other kids don't have because of the life, unfortunately, he got drugged through, right? They don't understand that part. I tell him, like, yo, you think that he has all these advantages, but he also went to like 6 different schools before he
mhm.
got to this school. And he had to
Right.
move and say goodbye to his friends all these different times. And,
Yeah,
sorry, bud, we're moving again. And they
yeah.
didn't understand. You don't understand. They don't see that part of it, right? And I said, would you rather be in the position where you have a lot of opportunity, and if you fumble the bag, if you drop the ball, it's a huge letdown, that pressure, or would you rather have anything you do as a win?
Right,
Because you're the first, right? You're the first
right.
one, and
Yeah,
it is definitely it's a complex problem to have, right? Like,
yeah.
are you a first generation success, or are you the third generation that doesn't get where you're trying to go? And who determines what success is,
I know,
right?
man.
That's
Yeah. I mean, I look, dude, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I mean, sometimes I play out what that journey would have looked like, if if I would have stayed that course, if I would have gotten the law degree, I would have gone to work for the law firm, dude, I would have lived the most boring life.
yeah,
You know, like I would have I would have taken vacations to like, Cozumel, or like Mexico would have been the furthest I went. Maybe like British Columbia to go skiing or something, right? Like,
not even
um,
that, bro. Just your daughters, dog. Like just your
like
daughters, right?
yeah, like that would have been the most such a boring life. And then
Yeah,
none of the things that my wife, my daughters, my
yeah,
um like this whole thing that has happened never would have happened, right? And so
yeah.
I'm glad that I was a pothead and I didn't go to class at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying?
I get it, bro.
Yeah,
I
it all
get it.
happened for a reason, man.
You know what? There is so much to learn from living a life, right?
Hmm.
And to
Yeah.
have a life where you could look back at the good and the bad. I dropped out of high school when I was a teenager, and my dad made me enroll in community college. And I went to typing class, and that's how I typed so good, right? Because I went to typing class at 16 years old. But I would go sleep in the student lounge for the other class and failed that and wasted his money, right?
Yeah.
But that was something I had to go through in life as one of my niches on my belt to get where I'm going to go. And I remember I watched that movie, The Butterfly Effect, one time with
Yeah.
Ashton Kutcher,
Yeah,
right?
dude. Yep.
And that's a serious thing to think about. Like, how much would you really change? Because you change one thing and you'll never know. And so
That's right.
instead of worrying about that thing you did wrong or whatever it was, start figuring out how you can go forward and
That's right.
capitalize on the next opportunity, right?
That's right, man.
And
Yeah.
but I could see where the pressure would be on you as a young person. You got this
Yeah.
full ride. You're
Hmm.
academically sound, right? You're a
Yeah.
smart dude, right? You could
Yeah.
do school. that's probably the other reason why you just blew it off, because you're like, I'm not challenged by doing this. I'm just
yeah. It's all good.
And so
so
how did
it's all good.
It is. So how did you land on the Navy, bro? Like
So I continued for, like I said, for 3 years. Lost my scholarship and then had to start taking on student loans, which was fine. I mean, back then, dude, school was not that expensive. Like, quite frankly, that was 20 some odd years ago.
Yeah.
And, took student loans. And, I mean, after 3 years, that only ended up being like $15,000 or something. It was not that much, And I paid those off over my time in service. But anyways, so my best friend to this day, his name is Matt Frugier, right? And he and I were homeboys kind of through that whole 3 years in Lamar. I worked in restaurants while I was going to school. The main one I worked at was called Papa Dough, which is like a Cajun seafood kitchen. It's around Houston area. It's really famous around the Houston area. The Papa's chain. They wanted me. They were recruiting me to come, like, be like a manager, blah, 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 all this stuff. But anyway, so Matt and I met there, and he had a sister, or has a sister, I should say. But at the time, she was air crew in the Navy Reserves, and she kind of knew that he wasn't doing much. He's about a year younger than me. And so she was kind of talking to him like, hey, like, you can do this, da, da, da. And I was kind of at the end of my rope with school too. I was like, dude, this is not it. Like, I'm bored out of my mind. So, we just got to talking, and we decided to go, talk to the recruiter. And so we did. We went and talked to the recruiter. He gave us a practice ASVAB. And I remember, man, BM2 Garcia, and he gave us a practice ASVAB. Matt and I both are pretty bright dudes, and that dude had his hooks in us as soon as he saw our scores, dude. Like, he was like, "Oh my god, you guys are not getting out of here."
yeah. Don't blink, you're gonna wake up in boot camp. That's it.
So, anyway, so I mean, we knew we wanted to do something, man, and that's the only recruiter I went to. I went to the Navy recruiter, and still, I kind of thought that I wanted to do law. I thought, let me go do this. Let me get it out of my system. Let me go see the world, travel a little bit, and I'll come back and I'll finish my degree, and then I'll go to law school. Right. I'm colorblind, so. There's only a few things you can do if you're colorblind, right? So PM was the thing that they gave me. Made 92 on my ASVAB, so I could have done basically anything, but PN it is.
But I can see where PN kind of fits, right? Because if you were looking at possibly going to the legal world, a lot of that stuff can apply to that. Right. A lot of that for me could translate. And I was a Navy recruiter, so I would have 100% like sold that job. Like, because what I used to do is go back and talk to the guy with the job before you would go. I'd be like, all right, what are the jobs? I'm like, all right, let's do this one. He'll take this one. And then go out and pre-sell it and whatever. And oh, by the way, you're only doing 4 years, bro. Just getting some money from college. Just go see the world, come back and become a lawyer. Yay. And you're like, yeah man, right on. Right on.
But
so did both you and your buddy join at the same time?
We did. So we went to the recruiter. We both signed up for MEPS at the same time. And we actually went on the buddy program to boot camp. We were in the same division at boot camp. I was a manager at Papa Dough. And I remember specifically when we went to boot camp, I remember thinking to myself, I do not want anything to do with any kind of leadership. I just want to chill. I want to get through this.
Yeah.
Right. And so everybody's trying to, I remember this, dude. They were like, Dean, you should be the ARPOC. I was like, no, dude. I was like, I'm going to fold my underwear. I'll be a section leader. That's it, though. I'm going to
Right.
fold my underwear and like stay out of the way. And so Matt was
Yeah.
like, you know, the RPOC or whatever. Anyways, yeah. So went to boot camp together. He ended up. He was an AT back when they flew. So he was like a.
Right.
So he went to Tinker. And he was he flew on the E6Bs, right? So
After boot camp, you guys separated. He went to his schools and you went to your
yeah.
schools, and that was it.
So he graduated AAP from ATA school, went to Tinker. I graduated AAP from PNA school and went to Japan, went to Essex down in Sasebo. So
nice. All right. Before I get to that real quick, at the end of boot camp, right? Because I went to boot camp with a similar mindset, right? And I was like this little criminal thug kid, right? That was just a little punk. And I had all this leadership ability, but I didn't want none of it either. I just wanted to get through because I was that kid that was like, if they yell at me, I'm going to yell back and blah, 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 right? And so I'm not going to get in this trouble. At the end of boot camp, I find myself regretting not having got involved more and not having, and I find that to be in my life something that continues to go on until I actually start putting my hand in the air and start getting involved, because I start seeing the people that are in leadership positions and the people that are actually players. I start kind of like being a little bit jealous of them a little bit, because I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Because in my heart, my mind said I don't want the problem. My mind said I don't want to be the one in the space, you know, because as a kid, I was a leader in my kid. So I grew up in a church, so I was in charge of a leadership position. I was a Boy Scout, and I got put in a position to be a leader of my Boy Scout troop. So then when I became a little punk, I was just trying to not get in trouble, right? Because I didn't want to be in trouble. Did you regret at the end of boot camp the posture you took going into boot camp, or were you all good with it, just ready to move on?
So it's interesting, man. First of all, got to give some context about the end of boot camp for me. So the end of boot camp for me was September 13th of 2001. So 9/11 happened right at the end of boot camp for me.
Wow.
So I remember it like super vividly. I mean, I'll keep it brief here because I want to get to your question, but you know, one of our boys came back from dental. He was like, "Yo, a plane just crashed in the World Trade Center." We're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Sorry, man.
Yeah.
We good on. I don't know.
Fine, man. I'm not worried about it.
I don't know what the rules are on your podcast, bro.
No, I'm not worried about it, brother.
All right. Anyway,
I'm not worried about it.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm not worried about it, bro. Be yourself, man. I'm not worried about it.
So we're like what, you know, what's going on? Anyway, so that happened in boot camp. We had to call home. We graduated in front of an empty, drill hall, the whole thing. So
wow.
But to answer
they just ratcheted up. So force protection was raised up to, because we didn't know what was going on, right?
It was FPCon Delta. They locked everything down. All the flights were grounded across the country. So we took. I took a bus to my A school. My A school was in Mississippi, so I had to take a bus from Great Lakes to Meridian, Mississippi, and everybody did. Like if your A school was in Dam Neck, you took a bus to Dam Neck. If your A school was wherever it was, right? So
wow, that's interesting.
But kind of to answer your question, one of the lessons I learned in boot camp was you don't have to have a title to be a leader, right? And so I wasn't the RPOC or the whatever, but
right.
Everybody knew that I was the leader in that division. Does that make sense?
That does.
And so
100%.
Like when, you know, it was the little things like when we're doing study time, I've got, you know, 5, 6, 8 people around me, and we're going through things I'm teaching people, right? Or when we're all fucked up and we pull everybody together and like, yeah, I'm not the guy with the title, but I'm telling everybody like, this is what we're gonna fucking do. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that that's the lesson I learned, is that like, most of the time the guys with the title aren't actually the leaders. Right.
So
Usually it's somebody like peripherally or like in the background that's actually doing the thing. You know what I mean?
So you did manage to step up and lead, even though you. Good for you. I mean, that's I guess that's what I was looking for, right? Because you didn't look back with any regrets, because you lived your life and you did what you wanted to do.
I think, Gary, what it comes down to, man, is that like, I think that to kind of get to your the root of your question is like, I don't think you have a choice. If you're a leader, you don't have a choice. It just happens. If you're in a situation, you look around, you can either let things like fall apart and collapse and turn to shit, or you can just take charge.
Yeah.
That's really what it is, right?
It is.
You know, and so like there's levels to it, right? And it's okay if things kind of flounder a little bit, and you know, I'm sure with your students, you let them flounder a little bit, just like with selectees or something,
it's
right?
part of the process, right? Everyone's got to go through it, man.
You know,
I hate when people like the spoon, right? Give them their spoon, take the spoon out, right? I hate when people, and believe it or not, I do use that analogy with my students, especially I run the Chiefs initiation in my ROTC unit. And during my initiation process, a piece of that is I will tell them to get the spoons out. I will tell them, if I am having to speed this to you, you're going to eat, baby. And the kids, when they go like this nowadays, bro, it's because they're crushing it, right? They're like, I'm eating. They'll feed you, and you got to eat, right? And so it's an interesting analogy of get the spoon out was just a reminder, like you're about to get fed something, bro. So don't miss it. Take the moment, catch what I'm about to send, because I'm about to make your life easier, but don't let this become a crutch, because all you're going to do is always expect someone to feed you. And we need people that are going to start cooking. I need people in the kitchen, baby. I need people in the kitchen, getting the ingredients out and cooking it up, right? And so I can 100%, but we have so much that's one thing about the Chiefs mess, especially the surface Navy Chiefs mess. We can sit down with almost anybody from our base rates of the surface Navy and all get it, right? Well, and our other brothers in the different parts of the Navy, whether it's the Seabees, whether it's the divers, whether it's the submarine force or the aviation, there have a lot of similarities. But the surface Navy, we have a lot in common, because duty section, bro, just duty days at the minimum, right? You get repair lockers and duty section.
Repair lockers and duty days it's the great equalizer.
That's it, man. That's where you really learn to connect. So when you go to Mississippi for A school, how similar was Mississippi to either Louisiana or Texas? Did you feel comfortable in Mississippi, or was it like a whole new world there?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm 21 already.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so you're going outside. Because look, your first school when you're a young sailor is so liberating, right? Because you just come out of boot camp. Now you got money in your pocket. You got a bunch of new buddies you just met classing up for school, and we're going out to whatever bar or whatever it is, and you're 21. Like,
I'm already 21, right?
That's a game. That is a game changer. So
I'll tell you what, though, man, I was super disciplined in A school, because I don't know, man. I had something to prove, I guess. I just had something to prove, man. And and so my routine was, Monday through Friday, I went to class, and I'd come home, and as soon as I get home back to the room, I mean, before I'd even like take my uniform off, I would take the material that we had done during the day and I would study for an hour, 1 hour, period. And then I'd put it away. And then I'd usually go to the little base club, have like a couple drinks, have some dinner or something. If I had some money in my pocket, and then and then call it a night, man. And then on the weekends, sometimes we would go out, you know. Right. So like I didn't really experience Mississippi that much. I mean, I really was pretty disciplined in Meridian, and because I wanted to, I knew that if I finished number 1 or number 2 in my class, that I could advance, that I could get an automatic promotion, you know, automatic advancement program, AAP, and I also wanted to be able to select my orders. I wanted to be able to pick where I was going to go, right? And so, and I did, graduated top of my class by a lot. And then, I mean, it's PNA school, though. It wasn't that hard.
Right.
Yeah. And so I selected, the Essex over in Sasebo, man. And honestly, dude, like I had no idea about anything in Japan. It came down to, I looked at the class of ship and I looked at the Essex and it said amphibious assault ship. And I didn't know shit, dude. I didn't know anything about the Navy, right?
Right.
And I looked, but I had a fleet returnee in my class. And when I mentioned, I was like, dude, what's up with the Kitty Hawk? He's like, oh, the shitty kitty. I was like, that's all I need to know, dude. So I was like, I'll go to the Essex. So, and you know what? The best thing I ever did, man. I thank God I went to Sasebo first instead of Yokosuka. Like that was
Sailortown is not the haunch.
Yeah, that's Japan with training wheels, baby. You know what I'm saying?
I was Bellawood my first ship, right? So I actually left the Bellawood the day the Essex pulled in.
There you go.
So that was when I left Bellawood. So I definitely can relate to that, right? First ship was, and a lot of us 7th Fleet guys, a lot of us are first. Well, not a lot. Let me say there is a difference, in my opinion, between a senior enlisted leader that did a first tour in Japan or a younger E5 and junior tour in Japan, and by someone who came out there like as a senior chief or as a mass chief, right?
For sure.
Because them dudes get on my damn nerves, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you, bro, because you don't know what it's like being. And back in those days, we didn't have barracks, right?
Oh, I know.
It was Cinderella Liberty living on the ship.
Yeah. Essex was my home.
yeah. Or you got a girlfriend out in town and she had a spot, or you got somebody who had a
you went in with some of your boys and you routed the shit and you came out of pocket.
100%, right? Matter of fact, I mean, I might have stayed at base housing more than once because I had a buddy who was married, had extra rooms, and he's like, "Come on over, dog." And we were there, bro. Like, you know, and I remember having like the older chiefs and seniors. She's like, "What the hell y'all doing out here? How are you?" "Oh, we're just hanging out with old IT3,
don't worry about
RM3, right? Trying to get off the ships. You know, what do you think?" But I would just say that first experience, and a lot of us come back later because we're not as fearful of coming back to Japan, right? Like when I went there my first tour, and I didn't come back till I was a chief, right?
Oh, wow,
But I came back as a chief to Yokosuka, but having already done a Sasebo 3-year hit prepared me to be able to explain to my wife how it was going to be a little bit. And of course, technology changed everything too, right? Like, you know, back there in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was calling cards. Internet was barely infancy, right? How was the Essex? I was gonna call it BHR. How was the Essex post 9/11 for you? Did you guys still get the chance to hit a lot of ports and all that?
Dude, I love the Essex. That's my baby. Amazing ship, amazing crew. Yeah, dude. We hit all the ports. You know, now, you know, we were 4-section duty. sailors won't. You try to explain it to them, man. Like I stood 2 watches a day, or I stood 2 watches every duty day, 4-section duty for probably the first 2 years of my career, right? Like
Right.
import, because people couldn't qualify on the M14 because we still stood watch with the M14 back then, not an M4 or an M16. It was an M4 or M14, heavy ass M14, and like people couldn't qualify with that thing, and so those of us that could, country boys from Louisiana, you got stuck, man, and so 4-section duty. We used to call it. This was before we used to call it Ship Self-Defense Force, right? SSDF. Anyway, so that was the hard part. But yeah, man, I mean, my first port visit in the Navy was Pattaya Beach, Thailand.
That's a good port visit. Yeah, that's a good port visit. Legendary, bro. Jeepneys, legendary. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Legendary.
And you were over there. So this was back before you would pull into Lam Shabang, right? This was when you would anchor in Pattaya Bay.
Yep.
And you would take Liberty boats into this rickety ass pier right by Walking Street. And you would jump off the Liberty boat onto this like pier that looked like it was about to fall in the water.
Yep.
And here's 22-year-old Dean Howell walking down the pier, and here comes the Isuzu bot bus, and you jump in, and it's like, where am I?
Right.
Like, what is happening?
With a paper address of a hotel you got a room at, right? How do I find that?
I stayed at the Hard Rock. I was kind of bougie, you know what I'm saying?
There you go. Yeah. So, the Hard Rock's right there on the strip, though. It's right down the way.
You have to take the loop around and get down the Hard Rock. But anyways, to answer your question, life was good, dude. I mean, force protection was, we went to the Philippines, and force protection was like Charlie and Delta, but pretty much anywhere else, it was, the typical places, right? Thailand, Singapore, Hong Kong, Korea, a lot of Korea. I asked the
question. Well, I asked the question because I will tell you that my first ship was Bellawood, and we hit all the ports, right? We hit we hit them up, but it was pre 9/11. My next ship was the Ogden out of San Diego, and I went on Westpac from San Diego, and we didn't hit no damn ports, bro. Wow. We was going to Hawaii and the Gulf, right? There was like, you're not stopping at Go. You're not collecting $200. You're going straight to you're taking Marines to do the thing, and then you're going to do Meals on Keels. You're going to do You're going to do BBSS up the Yin Yang. You're going to be boarding every ship out there. And so I was wondering, because you were out in 7th Fleet so quick after 9/11, it's good to hear they didn't turn off your guys' port visits, because that's like one of the biggest perks of being out there, especially with the Gators, because we get better ports than the small boys get up there in Yoko. Like, let's be honest, because we got the Marines, right? The Marines they take care of their people. They make sure they get some damn good ports. The Navy, leave us up to it. Your ass will be underway the whole time. No one will give a damn.
100%,
right?
Dude.
I remember one time. So once upon a time, I was on the Blue Ridge, right, and in this room, and I'm there to be a master chief, and we're looking at the board, planning out the fleet's movements for the next goddamn, excuse my language, year, right? Yeah. And I'm like, where are the ports? Where are the port visits? Oh no, we're just gonna be tailing these ships, taking pictures of them. Like, why are we gonna just be doing? You're running these sailors ragged because all we're doing is video and people do bad, and we know they're doing bad and doing nothing about it. But there's no ports in our planning. Like, we're not planning for port. Like, that's what, and that killed me, right? But what I got to find out throughout my career was the Marines were the ones driving the port visits, because they were like, our Marines are going to get ports. That's part of what they get from going to the 31st Mews, because they go to 31st Mew on deployment, right? They don't all just live there all the time. A lot of them get deployed out there and chop in and get underway with whatever the ARG, right? So that is a perk of being in Sasebo, right? Is you get better ports. So at the end of BHR, or not, I keep thinking BHR Essex, right? At the end of Essex, Did you have any leaders on that ship that you really look back on and you're like, that guy really inspired me to want to re-enlist or stick around in the Navy? Because again, you could have got out, become a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
What was it that caused you to stick around? And was it a person or was
Yeah.
it your own internal recognition as to what you were on to?
Yeah. Well, before I get to this question, just let me wrap up the port visit thing with Hong Kong. They took Hong Kong from us, man.
Yeah.
Hong Kong and these sailors will never know Hong Kong. And it's
Dean, how
so
stupid
sad.
were we to let China have Hong Kong back?
It's so sad,
Like
dude.
strategically, bro. Strategically. Like I was just having this conversation with another brother the other day. I went to Hong Kong when it was under British, still British, right?
Yeah.
I remember being on the Kowloon side and being in that space. Just strategically, as an organization, why would we let that go? But we let it go. Right.
Yeah,
we let it go. And you're right. These sailors will never grow up, getting the opportunity to go out there and see the wares.
Yeah, Fenwick Pier is gone. Fenwick Pier is totally gone. I mean, yeah. So, anyways, but it's just sad, man. Like
it is sad. It was a huge loss.
Like that was the crown jewel of Liberty in the 7th Fleet for sure, right? Like it was everything that a Liberty.
It was Singapore without being so damn expensive.
That's it, dude. It was everything. It was everything that 7th Fleet had to offer, But anyways, but to answer your question, man. I found my wife, beautiful woman. We met at Hostenbosch of all places.
Not surprised. Multiple. Yeah. I know a few guys who met people at Hostenbosch.
Yeah.
So, it's a Dutch amusement park. What's there not to love about?
Yeah. So, and so by the time it came time to re-enlist, I had a little girl already, and so I didn't feel obligated to re-enlist necessarily. I was in the groove, man. And I was already a second class. I'd already taken the exam for first. I had orders to Millington. So it just, how it is, man. It just felt natural, right? You're just in the groove. Like,
so you got orders to Millington. Was your wife nervous about going to Tennessee?
Hell yeah, she was. She didn't want to go.
I know, bro. I got a ton of buddies with Japanese wives, right? And as much as they all usually crush it, but they're always really nervous. It's just like Americans, right?
Yeah.
My wife is from Brooklyn and she's Puerto Rican, right? When she first got told we were going to Japan, she was crying, bro. She was like, I don't want to go to Japan. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, babe, it's not that bad, right? It's really not that bad. But it's just change, right? And it's not, they're not sure and they're concerned. But did you guys enjoy Millington?
No, fuck that place.
That's rare you hear that though. Typically everyone goes there and they're like, oh my God, I'm retiring in Tennessee.
No, fuck that place, man.
Okay.
No, so here's what I'll say, man, is I kind of did her dirty, right? So I shouldn't have brought my pretty, just, fresh, innocent Japanese wife to live, like her first place to live in Millington, Tennessee. Like, dumb. That was bad of me, right? Mm-hmm. Because there ain't shit to do there. First of all. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can barbecue, but you can only barbecue so many times, Yeah. It's kind of close to family, so you could drive home 4, 5, 6 hours every couple months, go home, see the family, that kind of thing. So that was good for me, right? We had our second daughter there. That was good. Hazel, she was born in Memphis. But yeah, man, like Memphis is a shithole. Let's be honest about it.
Hence the National Guard going there.
It's a disaster. The place has been a shithole for decades.
Right.
Like, you walk a block away from Bill Street, you might get killed, and it's just always been that way, right?
Yes.
So,
it's the same as any other big touristy area, right? It's like, not Blue Street in Japan, right? It's not that. right?
So
For a
like,
Japanese, yeah. Yeah.
like, why would I take my wife to that? Like, that's the first place that I would introduce her to. So that's the first impression she got of America, right?
Mm. What
So
was the
not,
orders that took you there? Were you a detailer?
I was not a detailer. I was, I was a PM, PS at that time. By that time,
Mhm.
so I was doing like real nerdy PS stuff, right?
Okay.
So like suspended pay accounts.
So you were
See,
in Manpower. You were in the Manpower hub.
I was, yeah, I was doing like real nerdy PS stuff.
Okay.
But I learned a lot. Got to see behind the curtain, kind of like Wizard of Oz, right? So,
Yeah.
um,
But to go from the deck plates, right? Being the dude with the
yeah,
M14, holding it down in the duty section. Because yeah,
yeah,
you're a PN, yeah, you're a PS, but you're also a freaking sailor, bro. Like
oh, dude,
you're,
yeah,
you're on the IET, you're on all that. And now here you are
yeah,
just keyboard jamming it every day, trying to get
yeah.
excited about that's probably tough. Yeah.
It was rough, man. I mean, anybody that knows me knows that, like, being a PS. First of all, anybody that meets me, when I tell them I'm a PS, they're like, never would have guessed,
Didn't see
right?
that coming.
Didn't see that coming. But then if you get to know me, you kind of know that PS is, that was like my
Mhm.
day job, right? Like, that's
Hey,
what I do.
I know some solid PNs, bro.
Yeah,
Again, Surface Navy, right?
that's right.
Surface
Yeah,
Navy. Don't get it there. So I've met some of the I met some hardcore MSs. I met some hardcore SHs,
mhm,
right? You just
yeah,
because they're sailors. They're not just the rate. You choose the rate is the rate, but there's so
that's right.
much more that goes into this than just your rate. And that's probably why you were so damn successful, though, bro, because you were
Yeah.
able to expand outside of personnel. You
Oh,
weren't
for
just
sure.
pigeonholed in personnel. You could go on Liberty with a bunch of different people and be okay. Right?
Yeah, I mean, most of my homeboys were DC men and HTs. I mean,
Mhm.
on an
Like,
amphib, General Workshop's right around the corner
yep,
from the personnel shop, right? Like, it's
yep.
just aft and take a left, and that's the General Workshop. So we ended up actually, that's usually who we hung out with. But in any case, yeah, man. I mean, look, here's what I'll say about NPC. Like, I loved working at NPC if it was in like Hawaii or San
Yeah,
Diego.
why Millington, bro? Like that doesn't
I'll tell you why. I know. I'll tell you exactly why.
do tell.
So, the BUPERS, right? Bureau of Personnel was in Washington D.C., but it got too big, and you can only expand so far,
Mhm.
right? And
Right.
so, um, that base was vacated when they moved aviation training to Pensacola, and so you needed to expand the Bureau of Personnel, right, to Navy Personnel
Mhm.
Command. Well, you had an empty base basically. You got cheap labor. You got cheap labor in that part of the country,
You're right, right.
right? And so
Mhm.
that's how you end up having NPC in Millington, Tennessee, right? Is because you
Okay, it
got
makes
cheap labor
sense.
there, right? And so and you had an empty base basically, right?
And were the detailers and stuff already there, or did all that come together? When they stood that up?
So when they set up Navy Personnel Command, when they moved it to Millington, that's the detailers moved to Millington.
Okay, so Millington at one time was like a purely naval aviation
Mhm.
installation, and then it
Yeah,
became the personnel mecca.
that's
Okay.
right. Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, Millington was the Naval Aviation Training Command. Like what's in Pensacola now used to be Millington.
Okay. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Well, it's an interesting path to get there, but I understand it now. And now, isn't that like one of the two big PS hubs for like shore duty or something like that? It's like they put them all in like
Dude,
Millington and like Norfolk or something.
honestly, dude, I haven't done PS stuff since 2014. I'm
Okay.
I think maybe
For
there
me, it
Norfolk.
mattered.
I don't know.
When I was out processing, bro, it was scattered because every PSD was like, we can't do your DD 214 because we're not one of these areas. And I was able to get just under the wire. But I was just curious because that is a huge challenge for the PNs, for the PSs, because they've
Yeah,
got to be able to get anyway, I digress,
Yeah.
right? We can get to
Yeah.
that conversation. All right. So did you make first class at MPC?
Yeah. So I picked up first. So I took the first class exam. So I was on Essex for 4 years. I extended for a fourth year. So I OTEP for a fourth year.
Mhm.
And then well, I got my OTEP and then I extended for a fourth year for command sponsorship for my wife. Is what I did.
Tracking.
Right?
Yep.
And then so I took the first class exam in my fourth year and then transferred and then found out that I'd made first when I arrived at NPC. So
Oh wow. So you got to
yeah.
show up there as a first class petty officer.
Yeah, well, I got there, got the results, and then got frocked. Basically, within I was there for like a couple months, and then got frocked.
Did you
Not
do the
even a
whole
couple
3-year
months, maybe like
tour?
a week. Yeah,
So at
yeah.
the end of that tour, you're up for chief.
I made chief. I made chief in Millington. Yeah.
No kidding. Was it first time up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you know what you were doing? Like when I made
no
chief, bro, I had no clue.
No clue. Not a fucking no idea. I was lost.
I was the same way, bro.
Total goose.
I was the same way, bro. People, as much mentorship as I've given to people throughout my career, no one give me nothing, bro.
No,
like
I had no clue. So thank God I was a little older and I was raised right, and I'd had some leadership experiences previously. But man, I'll tell you, dude, I needed initiation. I needed it. I needed to be humbled. I needed to be all of the things that we teach during initiation. I needed it, right?
Right.
And so like it changed my life. It changed my whole life, right? It didn't just change me as a leader or like blah blah blah, all these things, right? Like it made me a better leader. It just made me a better person. It changed my perspective on things, right?
100%. Yep.
You know, it was almost like it woke me up, right? You know,
well, it's enlightening, right? As an adult, this is what I tell selectees. It's rare that as an adult, especially, as an adult, I could gender it out. I say even as a man, right? But we all have our differences. But it's rare you let yourself get put in these positions, and then you got to start asking the questions of like, am I really jacked up? Like, do I not see what what do they see that I'm not seeing? And you have to process these things, and it is an opportunity to gain enlightenment. Because you learn how to actually start trusting in people. You learn how to start leveraging parts of the organization you never even thought about using. You start getting told the things that no one told you. Because when I made chief, bro, they just said, here's a piece of paper, you're board eligible. What do I do now? Like I had no clue. Going through initiation now they're force feeding me all this crap. And looking back on it, changed my life and opened me up to I've never turned it off. Right. And it can do that for you if you allow the process to work. I've seen other people not get it and just go through it and not have a big moment. And God bless, good for you. It's not for everyone. I took a long, deep drink and I was in, bro. Like I dove all the way in. Hence why I became a CMC, right? Because that, I took the test for LDO purposes when I made chief. I didn't know. I was just trying to make rank, right? I was just, and who was mentoring me? An LDO. An LDO. It wasn't, he wasn't telling me how to make chief. He was telling me how to become an LDO, right?
Yeah.
But going through initiation, I bought it.
I had a package ready for for medical service corps. So same thing. I was like, whatever path to khakis, man. Right.
Yeah.
And I totally did not expect to make chief. I was on leave, man. I was on leave. I was getting ready to transfer. I had orders to VFA 102 as a first class. And I was on leave in Texas. And it was like a Saturday. And of course I put my recall number on my leave sheet. The phone rings, and it was one of the civilian dudes I work with. He's a retired chief. Phone rings, mom, hey, it's Mr. Wilder. So what the fuck is he calling me for? You know,
Right.
hey, well, Paul, what's up, man? He's like, hey, shipmate, you need to be at the, you know, he's like, hey, shipmate, you need to be at the medical clinic Monday morning at 05. I was like, for what? He's like, congratulations, chief. I was like, I remember mommy, my wife was standing right there. I like threw the phone. I was like, she was like, what? I was like, and this is gonna sound bad, but I remember I said this. I didn't say I made chief. I said I'm gonna be a master chief someday. Because that was in 7 years, dude. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I knew that as long as I didn't kill anybody or like whatever, like I just play it out. Like I probably would make master chief, right? And in my mind, and I'll tell you, dude, like making chief for me, it was a relief. It was a relief that I didn't have to play the dirty games that you have to play as a first class anymore. You know what I'm talking about, where you could just do your job and just like do the things that you're supposed to do, and you didn't have to like jockey for these positions and like how do I break out and all these things. Just do your job, right? And it was such a weight off my shoulders making chief. It was like I can just do my job, man, right? And that's honestly what I did. I never had to do any of the crazy stuff ever again, right? Where I'm like, oh, I need to take this collateral. I need to do this collateral. Just do your job, man. And like, if there's something the command needed me to do, then I would do it, right?
Well, and as a chief, the collaterals are coming at you. They're coming, right?
You're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. Yeah. You don't have to search for it.
Bro, the Chiefs will walk in my office looking for the plastic on the ground because it was either you're gonna say yes or you're about to get laser. Like I'm like, because as a chief, right? Yeah. We're all made men at this point, right? There's no saying no, right? This is what we need you to do, and we thought long and hard about this before we called you in the room. Whereas as a first class petty officer, a lot of times you're fighting to get your hand in the air, and it's just different, right? First class is you are scrapping to get into something, whereas chiefs, we're lining you up, right? We're lining you up because we already know you're the one that with the mess needs to do the thing for the good of the command, and everyone's got your back, but you got the lead. You're the lead dog, bro, and away you go. Looking at your initiation as we wrap up this piece of it, what are your biggest 3 takeaways out of Chiefs initiation, out of that process, that point in your career? Do you remember like your biggest 3 takeaways?
Yeah. Yeah, man. So I'll say this. Thank God I was initiated in Millington. You know, I talk a lot of trash about Millington, but biggest Chiefs mess in the Navy. I mean, there's like 400 something Chiefs there. I mean, if you look at my if you look at my charge books, you have to have two books there.
Damn.
You have to have two, and each page is like every Master Chief, Senior Chief only gets half a page, and it's two volumes, right? So that just tells you how many Chiefs there are there. So big 3 takeaways. I guess the first one is I remember the night before final night, I had found my tribe. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I had found my tribe.
You got it. You got it even before final night.
I had found, I was like, this. I don't need anything else, right? Like, and I think that was the biggest thing for me is like, yeah, sometimes y'all are going to piss me off, and sometimes I'm going to think y'all are stupid, and sometimes, the things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that was the biggest thing for me is that I'd found my group, my tribe, my people, right? Obviously, if you do initiation the right way it's just a mirror, right? It's a mirror, and it reflects all of the things that you don't want to look at, right? So all the bad things about yourself that you don't want to admit. Initiation is a mirror that makes you look at them and admit them to yourself, and then makes you you don't necessarily have to overcome them. They might just be something you can't overcome.
Just
you need to at least
accept it. Yeah,
you gotta acknowledge them, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And then you got to be able to just be embarrassed and laugh and just don't give a shit. That's it, right? Like,
that's it.
Like be able to stand in front of people and be like like that dream that everybody has where you show up to school with no clothes on. It's okay.
100%. But what I hear, dude, is you let yourself be accepted by that tribe. So you felt like a part of it, right? You looked in the mirror and you accepted who you were, and that's okay too. And then you accepted the fact that you're not perfect. And all three of those things are humongous parts of the process that not everybody understands, right? But if you can come through those things, because it only gets harder, right? It doesn't get easier, right? So you've got to have those three skills to go to the next level of whatever's coming for you. And you went back to Japan, and this is where you and I really first met. Was when you were on the squadron and embarked on board G-Dub, and I was a DCC chief on board the ship's company. And I used to run all the gas mask issue, and I'd work with the initiation and all that. And so I remember us crossing paths there, and you being in the squadron, and me just thinking you're just another Airedale on the freaking deck, right? Just in my way. I got to do all these things. But you being like, no, I'm a sailor, dog. Like I get it, bro. I'm a PS though. Like I get it. And how was that for you going to an aviation squadron for your neck as a chief, bro? Was that like a fish out of water?
I mean, I don't know, man. So the primary goal was to get back to Japan, right? Happy wife, happy life, man. I needed to get back to Japan, and I was able to, which thank God. And I didn't know what to expect in an aviation squadron. I mean, all I knew was the surface Navy, and so it was a steep learning curve. What I'll tell you is, in the aviation Navy, man, if it's basically, if it's not maintenance, it's admin.
Right.
That's it. So every collateral duty, everything that's not maintenance somehow becomes admin, right?
Right.
And so at the time, it kind of sucked, right? But in retrospect, it was great practice for being a CMC.
Oh, I bet.
Because I ended up having to do a little bit of everything, right? Man, like I love those dudes. Like they're great chiefs. They're super, like, we talk about being subject matter experts, and they didn't give a shit about collateral duties when it wasn't cool to not give a shit about collateral duties. You see what I mean? Like they cared about getting aircraft in the air, right? About sorties. They cared about their job. They didn't care about anything else. Now, it was kind of a burden on a lot of people that weren't them, but I mean, respect, right? Like they were SMEs, and that was their thing, right? And so, but I loved the squadron, man. I loved it, especially the Diamondbacks. World-class Diamondbacks, world famous Diamondbacks. It was an amazing squadron. I had an incredible, COs and XOs. Had shitty CMCs, if I'm just being totally honest. I won't name them.
Yeah, I'm going to know them, so don't name them.
Well, really bad.
Yeah.
But I won't say their names, but they were terrible.
Well, let's be
But
honest, bro. Not everybody goes to the aviation squadron for their first CMC tour because they were known for being the best. Like
that's right.
because let's be, dude. I've told people before, don't go to a ship because you're not gonna make it, right? Because a ship CMC, bro, it's you are 100% like you and your captain and your XO. It is not the same as being a part of
Oh yeah.
wing or being
Oh yeah.
no. There, you everything within your lifelines. It's a different world, and
Oh yeah.
I kind of regret sometimes not going the squadron route because maybe it would have gone differently, right? Right? Because the ships are, and here's the other thing: people told me this when I was going CMC. Everyone told me this, right? I remember when I was in Norfolk at the DC school I was teaching at. I went over to Surfland and talked to all the fired CMCs on staff, right? That were all waiting to get out, and they all told me to be careful what I picked for my first CMC tour because then they were going to chimney me into a certain pipeline, right? And I wasn't going to be able to get out of it again. But I was just like, I want to be a carrier CMC, so I want to go to an amphib and embark Marines because I know how to do ships and I know how to do gators. And I did not want to be embarked as a squadron CMC because I wanted to be the CMC, right? I didn't want to have some wing CMC like always already over me right off the bat. So I could see where you had that challenge, especially when you're the admin chief who gets all the work for the CMC. Right. Because the maintenance master chief ain't letting none of his chiefs get tagged, bro.
That's right. That's exactly
so you got the NC and you got the PS, bro. Figure it out.
That's right. So
and it's like that in other commands too, though, right? If you're on a ship, like on your ship, I mean, I don't know how it was on the DDG. But on my Gator, my ENCM, bro, trust me, if I wanted to give one of his engineering chiefs a duty that's extra, we had to talk about it. And thank God I was an engineer. So we could go fight or we could go talk. Either one's good for me, right? We could figure it out. But I need that guy. But I could see where that was a hard place to be.
It was good though. I mean, it worked out, dude. I mean, again, dude, I fit in with those guys. Like we got along great. I mean, and I did well there. I mean, that was also when the Great Tohoku earthquake happened. I was
going to ask you about that. Okay.
I was in the Diamondbacks when that happened. So that was in 2011, in March of 2011. And so you know we did a voluntary evacuation of dependents. So I mean hundreds of dependents we fly out, and every one of them has a travel claim, and we're tracking every one of them, and it's they're all getting per diem for whatever locality they're in.
Yep.
And not even to mention like my own personal experience with there's a freaking nuclear cloud coming down from Fukushima. Like what the fuck?
I remember, bro. I remember like it was yesterday. I tell this story often because not any people don't understand what that country, what Japan went through. I mean,
crazy.
Us as the service members, but as well that whole country and how they rallied and how they supported. And then here we were trying to figure out life, and it was scary. My wife evacuated, right? I evacuated. We were getting underway. Like they were making us get the hell out of Dodge, right? Did you guys? What did you?
Yeah. I sent my wife and kids down to Kagoshima. That's where she's from. And then so the thing is, even though the nuclear fallout was not enough, allegedly,
we don't know. We don't know.
But at the time, allegedly, it wasn't enough to like damage humans. It certainly was enough to damage aircraft. Because it's very, very sensitive instrumentation in these F-18s, radars, and other equipment. So I remember my skipper. He walked in, man. He basically called all the khakis into the ready room at the hangar there in Atsugi. We were still in Atsugi, and He said, there's a C-40 on the tarmac. We're sending a early det out at 1,400 a day. The rest of the squadron will be leaving in 2 days, and we're evacuating the entire CAG to Guam, and we'll be in Guam until further notice to stay clear of the nuclear cloud that's coming down from Fukushima. So I had kind of known this was coming, so I had a go bag like in my car. Family was already evacuated, so I was ready to rock, man. And like, no kidding, within, like 3 hours, I was on a C-40 heading to Guam. So each squadron basically occupied one of the hotels at Tumon. We had the Nico, which is great. So that basically VFA 102 lived at the Hotel Nico for about 3 months during the whole thing, right?
Well,
so,
and you guys know Guam pretty good because you guys would do your debts down there anyway.
Yeah,
and here's how gangster the CAG 5 CVN 73 team was. We go through that whole debacle. We're doing we're underway doing SRA at sea like a bunch of chuckleheads. We don't miss patrol. Remember that? We come back from that whole mess, get reunited with our families just in time to get underway and go patrol on time as scheduled. Right? It was a shitty year, bro. That was tough. Because we had just done 6 months straight before that because of Korea acting a fool. They had kept us extended underway. Right?
Yeah, I remember.
So
I remember.
My wife was so pissed at me, bro, because she was like, "You told me you're only gonna be gone like 3 months, 4 months at a time. You're actually gone 6 months."
Yeah, not that year.
We were hella underway. It was so crazy.
Yeah.
And it was scary, and it was all. And I remember when the ash first started falling, bro, and like they were like, "Just don't take your shoes in the house." You're like, "What does that even mean?" Right? And that was back when Facebook started blowing up, right? Like the spouse chat groups, they were going wild, man.
I know, dude.
And all the aftershocks. Remember all those damn earthquakes?
Bro, listen, dude. Like legit, I had PTSD from that shit. Like,
it was.
It just is what it is, dude. Like,
it was honestly insane.
Like, lots of earthquakes happen in Japan, and I've been over here for ages, right? And up to that point, I'd been here for almost 10 years, 7 years, 3 years in Millington, so 7 years at that point I'd been here. And I'm telling you, I had never felt an earthquake in that time. I think my brain wasn't rigged to understand what an earthquake felt like, right?
Right.
But after that one, I am super sensitive to it. And sometimes I'll think that an earthquake is happening. And I have to pause and look around, and it's not.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the wind or something, right?
That's real, bro.
So severe.
It's real. And I'll tell you, for my wife, she really went through it, bro, because I was on the ship. So I was on the boat watching the world rock and roll. But I remember the apps that were on the cell phones that would go off whenever earthquake is going to come. And dude, it was like something like 80 a day or 80 in that week. And each one of those was like 5s and 6s. They were earthquakes on their own. So you're not wrong, bro. I think that 100%. Not only was that the trauma part, going through the earthquake that weekend after and watching everything on the news, then there was the rolling in of the clouds and everybody telling us it was going to be okay. Then the ash starts falling.
And
then there's the evacuation.
Right.
Yeah. It was chaos, bro. And then we get underway.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, dude. So the squadron was good to me, though. I ended up, after 3 years, I was, the number one chief there. And then from there, I transferred to Fitz. Went to Fitz from there.
And so you went to Fitz as the Abenel CPO.
I did, yeah. So they they had taken those PS billets off of DDGs for many years. Remember Papa Det, this whole thing, right? PSD afloat, whatever they called it. And then they realized they had messed that up. And so they reapplied the PSC billets back to DDGs. And so I was the first, I was in that first group of PSCs that went back to DDGs, right? And so I was the first PSC on Fitz in probably 8 years or something like that. Man, that ship, something special about that ship, man. I mean, I adore that ship. Yeah, so
I'm glad.
yeah,
I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. Well, I'm glad to hear that, bro, because when I think I'm going from a forward deployed squadron through the years you just talked about, and I know how busy that op tempo was. I was on GW 10 to 13. You were at around the same time with your squadron. Then to go to a freaking DDG, FDNF, all I'm hearing in my mind is you're freaking a maniac, bro. Like you're a glutton for punishment,
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yep.
Get the shillelagh out and just Dean says, I want some more. Give me some more. Give me some more. The Da Vinci Code, right? Wham. Wham. Because that's hard duty, bro. That ain't no joke.
Yeah. I think so two things. I wanted to stay in Japan, obviously. But I knew that I needed professionally, I knew I needed to do like a PSC job, right? Because that was a PS1 billet I was in the squadron. Now, it's a whole long story. I ended up being basically a YNC that when I was in the squadron, because the YNC that was there got DFC'd and some other stuff, right? But whatever. So professionally, I knew that I needed to go do like a PSC job, right?
I'm just thinking about thank God you went to college. Thank God you went to college to become a lawyer.
Yeah, right. I just
because now you're a YN and you're like, I can do this stuff. I did college for 3 years.
Yeah, it was easy. It was so easy.
But so you felt like at the squadron you were not as much in the PS as you felt like you needed to be competitive for senior chief in your community.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. I knew I needed to go do a PSC job, and quite frankly, I wanted to go to sea, man. Like I wanted to go do a no kidding. I'd never done a DDG, and I wanted to go do a crew days tour, man. I heard all about it, and I just wanted to go. I wanted to go do it, man. And I'm glad I did, because I freaking loved it, man. I loved it. I loved it so much, man. I really. So
what did you love about it? Like when you look at that tour in particular, was it just the Chiefs mess size? Was it the full mission of the DDG? Was it your shop, or was it all the above?
Yeah. So here's the thing about a DDG, right? Compared to an amphib of any type, LHD, LHA, LSD, LPD, or a carrier. If you look at a cruiser or a destroyer, that's basically just a big floating loaded gun, right? Right. So
shotgun.
If you look at the carrier, their strike capability is the aircraft they launch, right? Same thing with the amphib. It's the Marines that they can put on the beach, or their F-35s, or their helicopters. There's things that they launch external, but inherently they don't have any type of real fighting ability, right?
Right.
That's not the case with the destroyer, right? The destroyer is the fighting ability. It's a fighting ship, right?
Yeah.
And that just really appeals to me, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I get it. Yeah.
A bad mofo, right?
Yeah.
The VLS, the 5-inch, the 25 mic, the CWIZ, everything about that ship is built to fight, and that carries over to the crew, right?
Right.
Whether you're a CS or a bosun mate or a PS or an FCA, everybody there understands that like you're there to fight, you know.
Right.
And so it's just a different mentality from the rest of the Navy, right? Like when you set sea and anchor, everybody's doing something, you know. Everybody's
and your ship. And so your ship had that swagger. You
Oh,
had
dude,
that
Fitz.
swagger on Fitz.
Woo!
Because
Dude,
I will
Fitz-
tell you,
Fitz
that's
had
good.
the ultimate swagger, dude.
I love it,
11
bro.
to
That's
14.
dog.
Unstoppable.
The best ships have swagger, bro. Period.
Yeah.
They know their ship's company, their crew, they got it, right? And whatever the mission is, and that's what I think if I was a CMC, if I was to go to sea again, or what I tell my people, or as a CMC, if you can get your people to have that swagger for whatever your mission set is and take pride in the mission, everything else becomes like butter. It's so much more fun.
That's
when
right,
you,
dude.
And so the fact that's your memory, I'm proud of you just listening to it, right? Like
It was so good,
I love that part of being a 7th Fleet sailor because we got to do so many reps and sets. We got very proficient at our craft, right? A lot of underway time, a lot of time away from the pier. When I was in San Diego, I was just like, we don't get underway here. Like we would get underway, but be gone for Westpac. It wasn't like you're getting underway for 3 months home that was rare, right? We would only do workups and then go. Japan, you get a lot of sea time.
In and out.
Yeah. And every time you get underway, you're operational. As soon as you leave the harbor, right? You're operational.
That's right.
You're not transiting to Hawaii, right? No. Right. Underway, be ready, right? Be ready to go.
Yeah.
So you did that for the full 3 years. Did you do a full 3-year tour there?
I did. Yeah, I did on Fitz. Yep.
Did you make senior chief there?
I made senior on Fitz. It was so cool, man. When did I make senior? I made senior in 12, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
So I made 8 in 2012. Just to kind of give you an indication. So there's probably about, depending on manning levels, somewhere between 25 and 30 chiefs, senior chiefs, master chiefs, in a DDG mess. Mm-hmm. Mostly chiefs. You usually have about 3 senior chiefs, and then you have either 1 or 2 master chiefs, the CMC plus top snipe. Yeah. Anyways, the year I made 8, we made 6 senior chiefs in the DDG mess, right? So that just kind of gives you an idea of the caliber of
the respect your operations had and your ship had.
You just know, that like if you make 6 senior chiefs in a DDG mess, those guys didn't make senior chief because of what they had done on board Fitz. Yeah, they did it on the coattails of what they had done before they got there. So that was kind of like the caliber of the chiefs that we had in that mess, right? We were fucking unstoppable, dude. And so I'm just telling you, right?
I believe it.
It was incredible. And so then there was a period of about almost 18 months when we had 10 senior chiefs in a DDG mess. It was absurd. It made no sense, right?
I bet you every visiting training team was like, I don't want to go on board Fitz because these dudes are going to just kick our Fitz,
man. Exactly.
All these senior chiefs are going to be just talking big shit, bro.
Yeah. Dude, I'm telling you, we were the first ones. So we were getting ready for in-serve. And this was in probably either 13 or early 14. We were getting ready for in-serve, and we all ordered khaki coveralls. And
I remember that.
And when
I remember that picture.
Yep. And
I remember that picture.
Walked on in their fucking gray coveralls. We all had khaki coveralls on.
Yeah.
We were all lined up midship.
I remember that.
Welcoming them aboard in our khaki coveralls.
I 100% remember that picture on Facebook. I 100% remember that energy.
We were super cocky. It was
I love it though, because you were backing it up and y'all knew it, man. And you know what? Sometimes that's that to go over the horizon as an independent underway ship, you've got to have that freedom and that ability to say, we're going to survive, we're going to do it,
Yep.
and we're going
That's
to be
right.
good at what we're doing it.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I carried that same energy my whole career too, but it's how we were trained to be, bro. Like, I remember being told as a young sailor, we got to be better because we're 7th Fleet. Like, we got to be better because we're the tip of
100%.
the spear. And I carried that my entire career, right? Like, and that's why we got paid more. We got paid more.
Yeah.
So when you get ready, you were on Fitz with Billy Price. He was your NC, right, for a period of time?
I don't think so. No.
Billy.
Jason Caldera was.
Oh, I thought Billy was
JC.
there with you too.
No, I
Billy was
don't
with you.
think so, man.
Okay, maybe Billy was somewhere else.
No, it was not Billy, because I had this girl that I don't remember her name, but I don't want to remember her name. She had a wig. That's all I remember. She had a wig.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And and then JC. JC was my dude though, man. I love that dude to death. But yeah.
Good to go. So after Fitz, you're getting ready to leave there. You're a senior chief petty officer. Did you already know at that point you wanted to become a CMC?
No, not yet, man. I still wasn't sure. I mean, bro. So yeah, man. I mean, did I make it in 12 or 13? I must have made it in 13 because I made senior chief, I think, in 2013 because I think I was at 12 years when I made senior chief. Okay. So I wasn't even sure I wanted to do 20 yet.
Oh, really? Okay. You sure? Well, you just did a ship and a freaking squadron back to back, bro. You might be a little
tired. I was exhausted, right?
And so, bro.
So I was able to pick up orders to go to Hawaii.
Okay.
And again, first of, so I went to stand up the Navy Wounded Warrior program in Hawaii. There had never been one there before, which is kind of cool. It's kind of a theme, right? Like something I really take a lot of joy in is like being the first of. I like to do that, right?
Is that where you and Ty connected? Was it at Hawaii or?
Well, no, I knew Ty. I mean, when we knew each other on GW,
GW,
right?
Okay.
Yeah. And then yeah, again in Hawaii.
Yeah, because I know he went to Hawaii and he got real. Dude, Hawaii had to be a great place to be a senior chief.
It was cool, man. I mean, I'll tell you this, dude. Like when they told us we couldn't fundraise anymore during the season, 1,000,000% that's because of Hawaii. 1,000,000% that's because of Hawaii. We were falling out of control in Hawaii, dude. Our khaki balls were lavish.
Yeah. But I'm sure that's a great fleet concentration area, bro.
It is. It was fun.
It's got its own culture. It's got. I mean, you watch the news right now on social media that are in Hawaii just living their best life. You know.
Yeah.
It's a good community, man.
It was fun, man. You know. So yeah, got to Hawaii. Second shore duty. Wife. Everybody was a little. By this time, I got 3 girls. You know, none of my girls really speak English, and that was kind of the biggest reason I wanted to go to Hawaii is to get them enrolled in an American school where they can, you know, honestly, like learn English, man. Like that was one of my biggest things because I'd been underway, like you said, for 6 years. I couldn't even talk to my kids. I was like, we have got to go to the States because I'm not gonna not be able to talk to my kids. So created some friction, you know, but you know, it is.
Hawaii's a good meet in the middle, though. Hawaii.
It is. It is. It worked out. But yeah, the tour there was good. You know, The job was rough, man. Again, I don't really talk about it a whole lot. I talked to my therapist about it, but I probably don't want to talk about it here. It's just a lot of shit that I didn't really want to see, wasn't prepared for. A lot of death, a lot of injury, a lot of illness. Just things that if you're not a corpsman, that you're not really prepared for. And you think that you and honestly, dude, like I was good. I mean, I didn't realize it was even a big deal until you get like, 2 years into it. And then you realize that like things that you would have empathy for normally, like, oh, you've been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Like normally you would be like, wow, that's terrible news. And like, you would like really feel something, right? Well, when you've heard that 8 times and now I have to provide some type of service and I have to like, you just like, I mean, you can't, like, I can't extend my heart to that many people that many times. And I can't go home and like tell my wife about it. You know what I mean? So it was rough. It was a rough tour. So,
brother, that's also a byproduct of the lifestyle you chose to live. We chose to live on sea duty because so much, so fast, all the time, operational. And I don't want to be told not to be operational because I don't want you to tell me bad news. I want to stay in the game. And so we learn to compartmentalize things. And then later we wake up one day, we're like, oh my God, I have not felt things I'm supposed to be feeling. And to be honest with you, that becomes hard to recognize. That becomes hard. Like, I remember when I was on Guam, I thought for sure I was having a heart attack. Like I was so me and Erica, we were in the Navy exchange one day, and I everything went hypercolor on me real fast. And I was like, oh my God, like everything is like hypercolor. I didn't say shit to Erica, bro. I was just quiet. I'm the base CMC at the time. I've been kicking COVID's ass in Guam, all these things, right? And so we go get in the car and I'm driving. I shouldn't even be driving. I'm barely breathing. And I'm like, I'm hungry. I need to get something to eat, right? That's why I think I'm hungry. So we go into the Wendy's on base. We go into the Wendy's and she looks and I'm drenched in sweat, just drenched, right? And she's like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, oh no, I'm fucked up. Something's wrong. So we go to the hospital. They do all this checkups on me, whatever it is. Everything checks out just fine. And I'm just like, well, I feel like I'm having long story short, after like 6 months of checking everything, the doctor's like, hey, Master Chief, have you ever thought that maybe this is like mental health? And I was like, shut the fuck up, doc. and that was tough to hear, bro. Like I was like, I'm the dude that everyone else calls when their life's going to shit. Right. I'm the guy that's, I'm the one that's helping everyone else. And that was really hard for me to come through that and to get it. And I'm still not good. Right. I tell people, this is me on medication. You should have saw me back when I wasn't on the shit. I was
I know, dude. I know.
And so I can relate, bro. And when you ride, especially high performers, right? You're telling your story, bro. Make it chief in 7, senior chief in 12. And again, I can relate, bro. Making master chief at a relatively fast pace, and then doing back-to-back FDNF tours, and then taking on that challenge. So you're running Wounded Warrior in Hawaii, where a lot of people go to get jacked up. Unfortunately, that's where we all get medevac to. Right? They go to the hospital there, and they hear bad news when they get there, and they got to figure out what this new normal looks like, and they hope to stay in Hawaii so at least they can be somewhere beautiful as they try to conquer this challenge, right? And they hope to get stashed there because it's easier place to deal with something because you don't want to, you don't want to be forgotten about by the Navy. You want help because your life's and so I get all that, brother, and unfortunately, not all of us are willing to talk about it until we're to the end of our rope, right? So as you're getting to the end of your time in Hawaii and the girls are getting their English game up or whatnot, when do you make Master Chief?
So I made 9 in 2016.
In Hawaii?
I got there in 2014. I went to Senior Enlisted Academy in 2015. I mean, look, dude, I don't want to talk shit about Hawaii. I had a great tour. I got to meet Dwayne Bushy and actually get pretty close to him. I got to meet a lot of cool freaking people. Suze is my sea mama. I used to play golf with with Tom, and David Carter is a great friend of mine. You know, I mean, I had a wonderful tour in Hawaii. I really did. It was tough personally, you know, but professionally it was fantastic. Obviously,
Sure.
So yeah, made 9 in 2016. So that was at 15 years. I remember. I remember Suze called me to her office. That's when she was at Pac Fleet, and we talked all the time. So she called me like at my desk. She was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Nothing." She's like, "Come over." I was like, "Okay, I'll be there in a second." So I drive over to Makalapa, go to her office. And this is right when I'd made 9, maybe a week after or something. And she was like, "Well, congratulations, first of all." I was like, "Thanks, Suze." She's like, "So what are you gonna do?" I was like, I don't know." She's like, "What, are you gonna be a PS for 15 fucking years?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess not."
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, so I put in my package that year. Did not get selected the first year that I put in. And then I put in the next year, and then I picked up.
Okay.
And then so I think the first year I put in, I just didn't have any time in the seat, you know, filling in. But then the second year when I put in, I basically had sat in for David for almost 6 months. He took the Nav I-4 job as a Force Mass Chief, and so I sat in for him basically until Greg Vidari showed up to take the Region Hawaii job. So I did the Region Hawaii job for almost 6 months, working for Admiral Fort.
Right.
And so when I submit that with my package, I mean, and plus a letter from Suze, like I was kind of a shoe in, I guess. And then I also blew my Achilles while I was there. I ran the let's see, this would have been, when did I get to McCampbell? 18. So 2016 December, I ran the Honolulu Marathon, and then January of 2017, I blew my Achilles, which fucking sucked. It's terrible. And so, anyways, it was a whole thing. Did some limb do time, and ended up taking orders to McCampbell in 2018. Is that right?
Okay.
Yeah. So
that sounds about right.
Yeah, 2018, took orders from McCampbell. Mickey had Desron at the time.
Yeah.
Old Mickey Jones.
Oh, where is he at? Is he in Hawaii still?
I think he's getting ready to retire if he hadn't already. He was at NCTS or Nick Tams. He took Derek's job basically.
Okay.
And then I think he's either retired already or he's getting ready to retire.
But he was I remember when he was at ISIC for the DDGs. What was that job called? It was.
Well, he went Desron 15 to Surf Group Westpac.
That's what it was. Desron 15. He was Desron 15.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, so when you got to McCampbell, how was that?
Okay, so McCampbell was hard.
Yeah, especially coming off the tail end of everything that was going on in 7th Fleet.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So I got there in 18. This was right on the heels of Fitz and McCain.
And standing up Surface Group Western Pacific.
They had just stood up Surf Group Westpac.
And you guys were under the thumb, bro. Freaking the DDGs were freaking
exactly.
I remember.
And McCampbell was the first DDG, first ship that had to go through the 18-week basic phase training in Japan. Previous to that, Japan ships didn't have to do the basic training phase.
Right.
Because
it was continuous.
That's right. Yep.
Right. I remember.
And so we were the first ship to have to go through the 18-week basic training phase. And there was no leeway in that 18 weeks. Right. It was 18 fucking weeks. And if you didn't get it done in that 18 weeks, somebody's getting fired.
I remember.
That was
it. Getting briefed at a 3-star level, by the way.
I'm just letting you know. It was
that big. I remember and being in the room and hearing that energy, bro.
Listen. And Dean House shows up the week after they failed LOA.
Oh.
Right?
Right.
So, anyway,
yeah.
Which I knew, dude. Like, I show up, I'm talking to Mickey. Mickey's holding it down because the guy before me. So Mickey was holding it down. He's like, hey, fucking, we dropped LOA. I was like, okay, whatever, dude. I'll be there next week. We got there. They had just dropped LOA. The CO and XO had almost gotten relieved like a couple of months prior to that.
That's stressful.
During the avail, like coming out of the avail. So I show up, and that's how I show up, right?
Yeah.
And Chief Smets was in total disarray. So it is what it is, man. I got there, and we just got to work, man. And we made the best of it, dude. It is what it is, honestly. Like, I think that people during those years, right? There were people that were probably looking at that situation and at my quote unquote performance that would say that that was a shit show. And I wouldn't blame them for thinking that, right? Because it was tough. I mean, we were going through it. We were just trying to fucking survive, man, right?
Yeah.
But I think that now that you fast forward a few years, I think the same people that would have been very critical of those years would probably think differently of it, right?
I remember, Dean, back in those times, I was so annoyed by people that had never done operations on a DDG or on a ship in the Forward Deployed Naval Forces as a regular sailor having such opinions about what to do. Because I'm sorry, but you can't compare that level of intensity. Never before, in my opinion, never before had been seen, right? You had these two major collisions at sea. You had op tempo that was unrelenting. A lot of sailors, unfortunately, were in the same position you would put yourself in before you got to Fitz, which was operationally you wanted to stay in Japan. So they were all kind of burnt a little bit already trying to keep up. And then, oh, by the way, all this extra energy came in because they fired head people and brought in new people that just came in shellacking everybody, just bam. And I remember just listening, sitting in the room, hearing people talk and just being like, have y'all never been underway? But some of them never been on surface ships before. They were submarine dudes, right? They were submarine dudes. And oh, by the way, I'm sorry, but being on a submarine is not the same as being on a DDG, an LHD, an LPZ, right? And whatever. And so it was all about metrics. It was all about metrics and gates. And then, yeah, that was just a tough time period, bro, on that whole waterfront. And like you said, you guys got, unfortunately, you drew the freaking short straw, right?
We caught the brunt of it. For sure we did.
For sure, bro. For sure.
I know
and of course, everyone on the waterfront, everyone's operationally just kind of exhausted. The whole waterfront there felt it when those collisions happened, right? That's a family, the whole community. I remember getting up there and just being just like, we've got to reinvigorate the waterfront. And oh, by the way, the beatings will continue until morale improves, right? Right? Like someone needs to stand up for these guys and say, we're not going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. But they did.
Yeah.
They literally did. Right. Anyway, I digress because I'll get pissed off just thinking about it. But you guys, so was there ever, how long was it until you kind of felt like there was an end to that tunnel? Was it like 6 months, 8 months down the road?
Well, I mean, honestly, dude, once we got through the training phase, we got through NServe, and we got operational, things got good. That's how it always works, right?
Yeah.
Once you get out, once you get to sea, everybody leaves you the fuck alone, right?
Yeah.
And that's when your crew gels. That's when you start doing cool shit. I mean, you know, I can talk about some things here on class. I mean, you know, we did some fawn ops that were dope, bro.
Yeah.
Like we did a fawn op that hadn't been done since the 80s, right? Yeah. On Peter the Great Bay in Vladivostok, Russia.
Right.
Motherfuckers with their pants down on a Sunday morning. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like, I mean, there was 5 inches of frozen solid ice on the forecastle. I mean, so like things got good, you know. We DFC'd some people. It's typical stuff, right? That wasn't great. I mean, we DFC'd our XO at one point. Ugh, that wasn't fun.
That's tough.
But you know, like at the end of the day, I ended up doing 26 months there. And you know, it was rough, man. And when I left there, I went to Misawa. You know, we'll talk about that, I'm sure. But like, here's the takeaway from McCampbell, right? Is here's how I measure my success there. I look at now we're 5 years removed from it, right? Mm-hmm. And I look at all the chiefs and first classes in particular that I had some influence over, right? That I wrote some paper on, let's just say, right? Mm-hmm. And man, there's a bunch of chiefs, senior chiefs, master chiefs, and warrant officers and LDOs in that group, right?
Right.
So at the end of the day, it was a hard couple of years for all of us, but you know, you do the hard job, then you get the reward, right? And look, dude, what that taught me, the big lesson I got out of McCampbell was like, up to that point, I had never, up to that point in my career, I was like the fucking golden child, man. Mm-hmm. I had never been the subject of anyone's ire, like Dean, you're fucked up kind of thing, right? That was the first time ever that I was like, you're kind of fucking this up, Dean. And that's a bitter pill to swallow, man. Like, even when you know that you're not,
yeah,
it's like, okay, well, the results are the results, Dean. So you're gonna have to just you got to eat it, dude. You know what I mean? And
I do.
It is what it is, right? And
yeah, everyone's got opinions, though, bro. Everyone's got opinions, bro.
But it's all good. It's all good, dude.
Everyone's got opinions, bro. So, what did you do at Misawa? Did you ask for how did you get the orders to Misawa? Was it on the weekly and you just asked for the orders? Or did something come through where you had a conversation? Like, were you a base master chief in Misawa?
Yeah, it's installation. Yeah. So Haka, our boy Haka, right? Old Hurricane.
Yeah, he's like Fleet Force something or another now. Still in the Navy.
Yeah. Yeah, fucking Haka. Goddamn.
Fuck,
He's a
that
fucking
guy.
cook, made good, man.
I guess
Anyway, I love Haka,
he got
man.
in with the right people at the right
Yeah,
time, bro.
anyways, so I will say this though. He gave me a couple pieces of good advice, right? And one of them was, he said, Dean, he said, almost nobody knows you. He said, and this goes not just you in particular, but like in general. He's like, almost nobody knows you, but almost everybody knows something about you. And so that speaks to your reputation. Like, what is it? What is the thing that people know about you? Like, you need to be able to like shape that narrative. Like, what do people know about you? Right. So that was one really good piece of advice that he gave to me. And I you know, just kind of like be aware of what you're projecting so that people, that's what people talk about basically. Right. Another thing professionally, that he kind of told me, he's like, as a young CMC, he's like, you know, don't pigeonhole yourself. Like you don't have to, you don't have to go into a community right off the bat, right? Like as a young guy, you can afford to go do something like an installation or something that's kind of like not in the track kind of thing, right? So at the time, when I finished up McCampbell, I was looking at my options, wanted to stay in Japan. Again, there's a recurring theme. And nobody wants Misawa, man, right? And it's cold. But I was I was like,
it's like on Game of Thrones, the Northland, right?
Hey, bro. So I was like, you know what, dude, I'll take it. And I do kind of joke about that. Actually, I'm like, I took the black for 2 years. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't like did my time on the wall, you know. So, you know.
Oh, I know that. I get it, bro. Yeah,
I loved it, dude. I loved it up there. I loved it. It was awesome. It was. I mean, except for SRF. I mean, I adored Misawa. I freaking loved it up there. It was so good. I loved working with the Air Force. I loved working with our Japanese folks up there. I loved the snow. I loved the winter sports. I loved the food. Like, I loved it up there, dude. Now,
did your family go with you there, or were you geo badge up there?
No, I did geo up there.
I remember that. I remember that from a previous conversation we had.
Yeah.
And that being a kind of a challenge there. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, so when we came back from Hawaii, that was 2018 when we got back here. And my oldest she went into her freshman year of high school at Kinnick. And I remember I told 3 girls, and I told them, and I made a commitment to them. I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I said, but I'm not moving y'all again.
Wow.
Y'all are going to all, like, this is it. Y'all are going to go to school here. Y'all are going to finish school here. Like, so I just need you guys to do well, you know, but you're going to finish school here. I want you guys to have that stability.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, man, you might have just bit off more than you can chew.
That's a big daddy promise right there.
But I did.
But you did it.
I did it, right? So when I retire in 27, my youngest, Elizabeth, she'll graduate in 27. And that'll be it, right? So
that's awesome.
So yeah.
So Misawa, 2 years.
I say that's 9 years consecutive.
Yeah.
Sorry,
my brother. That's. I would say I give my hat off to you for that because you had to do whatever you had to do to stay in Japan so they could have that opportunity. But that's also the commitment you made probably to your wife, right? When you chose to get into this relationship with someone who's traditionally not from America, right? And she's looking for the stability from you to help support her and her family because over there she's got family as well, right? And I respect all that because I get it, bro. I've grown up in Japan, serving all my years over there. I've got a lot of buddies that have multi-family, multicultural families, and they're trying to
Mhm.
make it work, right? And so I respect all that, but I also know how hard it is to do a Geomatch tour and to be,
Yeah, it's rough.
yeah, definitely, 100%, and to make the best out of it. And then what'd you do after you did Misawa? Is that when you went to where you're at now?
Yeah, that's when I took SRF. So I so you know had a great tour in Misawa, and it's funny how things work, Gary. You know how this is, right? Like
Mhm.
um, the stink of McCampbell um, started to fade very quickly, and people right, and
Okay.
people start to pick up the phone,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and um, and dude, like I'm not bitter in any way. I swear I'm not, right? Um, because I made peace with my decisions and my
Mhm.
assignments. I made peace with what's best for my family, right?
Mhm.
Um, and thank God I did, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like the moment that I stopped chasing the next thing is when I actually became happy in my career, right?
Mhm.
Um, like for real, dude. Like, and so yeah. So when it came time to leave Masawa again, Mickey, man. I mean, I love Mickey, right?
Mhm.
Mickey was like, "Hey, dude." He's like, "What are you trying to do?" I was like, "I mean, I need to get back to the Coast Command." He's like,
Yeah.
"Just take these SRF orders." He's like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, "All right, dude, I'll take SRF." And I knew if I took SRF, that was basically it, right? Or at least I thought it was. And then again, the phone starts ringing, right?
Mhm.
Um, but listen, dude, this tour, and by the time I'm done, it'll be 5 years, which is kind of unheard of. I think they forgot about me, which is fine. I'm totally fine with
Yeah.
that. you know, um, holy cow! Like this was the job that I was like made for.
Right.
Um, and if I could do it for 20 more years, I would, right? But I know I can't, obviously.
Mhm.
But yeah, dude, it's been really, really, really good. So
I'm happy for you, man. That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's great.
I will tell you, that's amazing, bro. I got tired of people talking about me in rooms that I wasn't in, figuring
Yeah,
out what was good for me and my family,
right.
right? And
I'm
I
done with
got
that.
tired of that. And oh, by the way, I was just like, bro, I'm a master chief just like you are, dude. Like, what are you? Why do you get to have so much control over my family's life, right?
Yeah,
And
dude.
so I, and honestly, I was to the point where I was just like, I'm gonna go do something else in my life, bro. Because like you, I always made rank early. I
Hmm.
made master chief for 16 years, was a CMC, 18 years and multiple CMC tours. And then I was just like, I don't want to keep playing this game with these guys, man. I'm gonna
I'm
go do
good.
something fun. And, and don't get me wrong, I loved the sailors. I even loved some of the challenge of it, right? I enjoyed the shaking and the moving, and I know I could have
Hmm.
done it, but
Yeah.
when I started recognizing medical, I had gotten some challenges that I didn't want to admit, right?
Hmm.
Because I didn't want anyone to tell me I couldn't be in Japan anymore or
Right.
Guam anymore. Because my wife fell in love with Japan when we were on GW, bro. Like when we
Yeah.
got back to Virginia Beach after Japan, she was like, "How fast can you get back to Japan?" And I was like, "Well, I
Yeah.
got to go CMC, right? Because
Yeah.
they're not letting a DC Mass Chief. There's only
Right.
like 3 spots in the whole damn country,
Right.
right?" And and then I pulled her out of Sasebo quick as hell because I thought it was an honor. All right. No, it's just because they want to throw a saddle on you and ride you somewhere. Right.
Hmm.
And then we went to Guam, which was amazing. Right. Not everyone likes Guam is like Masala, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
everybody wants Guam.
Right.
I loved it there. But anyway, at the
Yeah.
end of it all, right? I think you have to do like what you said, what's best for you and your family, and understand that uh God, there's some great times in our Navy, especially in the CMC community. but there's other times that where it's lonely as shit, bro.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And not everyone's gonna understand what you're going through because not everyone's willing to talk about it because everyone wants to act like they got their shit together. Right?
That's the thing, man. And I think if you ask me what our sailors, want from us as leaders more than anything else, it's us to be authentic.
Facts.
That's it.
Facts.
That's it, dude. And and especially these days, right? They can sniff it out like that if you're bullshitting them, and it immediately turns them off. They don't want to hear anything else you have to say. If you're like stuffy and putting on airs, they don't want to hear anything. They don't want anything
what though, bro?
to do with it, dude.
You're this, but you and I are the same way, right? And that's where we get so pissed off at the rooms we gotta walk. I went to a room one time. They flew me to freaking Hawaii one time, right, for a meeting. A bunch of CMCs, and I'm like the junior dude in the room, right? Which doesn't mean shit to me because we're all mass chiefs, but you can have hierarchy however you want. I don't really give a shit. I'm a mass chief, right? And we're getting these briefings on things that I'm just like, this is stupid as shit. Like, I got questions like, why are we doing this and why are we doing that? And finally, one of the guys pulls me aside and says, hey, Gary, we all know about this stuff already. I know it's all new to you, but we're here for the meetings in between the meetings. We're not here to ask questions. And I was just like, send me home, bro. Like,
why am I here?
You flew me from Yokosuka to come here. All you dudes are in the room getting briefed by admirals and GS, whatever the SES, whoever the hell, and you're just telling me that it's for dog and pony show? Mm-hmm. You're not gonna say no? Like, why are we? I got questions. Nobody can answer my questions. All right. You know what? This is all. Put me back on the deck plates, bro. Put me back on the deck plates where it makes sense. And that's where I think sometimes people start drinking the Kool-Aid so much to the point where they forget the mission is really on that Fitzgerald being a warship that's really a warship that can go underway and do whatever the mission is to do. Right. And when I saw that, because these are dudes I looked up to, right? And I'm just like, well, I don't want to be in that club, bro. Like, send me back. And when I went to Guam, what was so great about being a base master chief was I got to know the submariners and the subtender and the CBs and all, and we got to make shit happen on the deck plates. But I think too many people become bureaucrats in uniform and they forget you're a fucking warfighter, dog. You're a warfighter, and your job is to say, no, this is stupid as shit, and put me on the record as saying I don't agree. Right? At a minimum, every meeting I come into, boss, this is fucking dumb. I said it. You don't want to hear me? Okay, then I'll retire. I'll fucking go do something else. But too many of them are more worried about staying longer in the Navy. And the other thing I love is when they get drunk and tell you they talk shit about you in front of you. I'm just like, bro, why are you getting drunk calling me and telling me what someone else told me about me? Like, told you about me. I don't give a fuck, bro. Like, I've been retired from the Navy since 2022 and motherfuckers still got my name in their mouth. I hope it tastes good, dog. Like, bitch, I got a YouTube channel now. Check me out, motherfucker.
Yeah, like, exactly.
100%. And it's like, that's the stuff I never liked in the mess, right? And I would weed that shit out when I was in the mess. When I was a young chief on the carrier, bro, you had a problem with the DC when you couldn't expect a short ball head dude to come through your door. We were going to have a conversation. And I think too many people become more worried about, I think just like you said earlier, their next job or whatever it's going to be, that they lose track of what they're trying to do, you know?
Yeah, man.
All right, we're going to go ahead and see if we can land this thing, bro. And we're going to wrap this thing up.
Let's do it.
trying to find my here we go. Trying to get out of here. Here we go. All right. I got some rapid fire questions for you, dude. And we're gonna wrap this thing up. All right.
Ready.
Do you remember the first time or the time when you were like, oh shit, I'm really in the Navy now?
Wow. Yeah.
Was it boot camp?
Red lights at boot camp. I was like, what the fuck is this, dude? I was like, is this some kind of like psychological fucking warfare? Like, what? Why are there red lights, dude? I don't get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. It was red lights. Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, this is weird. Yeah.
You know, we were just talking about this a little bit, and you might have a similar perspective or an answer. What do you see as being one of the biggest leadership challenges in organizations today?
Yeah, I just think there's a disconnect between generations, man. I just think. I mean, how do you talk to your kids? Like, the way you talk to your kids is the way you should talk to your employees. If you want to effectively communicate to your kids and get them to move to do something, that's the same way that you should talk to your employees that are of the same age, right? Like, and I'm here to tell you, man, yelling ain't gonna get it done.
Yeah.
It just ain't, right? So I think the way that we communicate to each other is different from the way that people, younger people communicate. It's just different, and we have to learn how to communicate to them.
100%. And communication is almost always the answer, bro. And the other thing I'll tell you is the interesting about the generational question is people in the workplace are staying longer. So you might, you know how it is in the Navy. You are a young master chief. You might have a freaking 20-year first class and a 9-year, chief, and they got to figure it out, right? And they got to communicate. And they come to you, and you're like a 16-year master chief, and you're like, well, guys, we're about, but it's all about communication. So good. Yeah. That's good intel. This is how can parents, and you just kind of hit this for me, is I have a lot of parents that watch this show or listen to this show, at least, because I will tell you my niche right now is working with teenagers, right? Like I work with teens, and out here in the civilian sector, bro, there's a lot going on for these kids. How can parents best leverage leadership skills? And it sounds like what you just said, bro, is talk to your kids.
Yeah. So I'm going to say something really unpopular. Maybe it's not, but maybe it's controversial. I don't know. You got to trust your kids, man.
Yeah.
I have never once. No. Yeah. I'm just thinking back. I don't monitor my kids' phones. I don't look at their texts. I don't track their location. I don't do any of those things. And neither does my wife. I trust them. And I tell them that. Now, if they do some dumb shit, which they have, and they get caught, then I hold them accountable, right? But I don't hover parent them. And I think that is something that parents should do, man. Like your parents, my parents couldn't do that to us. And we had to, they had to trust us. They didn't have the ability to monitor us like that. Right. And so
100%.
We should afford that same trust to our kids. Even though we have the ability to monitor in that way, we shouldn't do it, man. Like we should trust them. It shows our kids that we value them. Does that make sense?
It does, 100%, man.
That would be my advice. Even if you have the ability to, don't do it.
Yeah. Or like you said, unless they unfortunately prove that there's a challenge somewhere, and then there's a consequence. But then at the point where the consequence has been served and or met, and you choose to give them back their privileges, let it go.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. Like that's one thing my wife taught me, bro. My wife, she would tell me she forgave me for something, and I couldn't forgive myself. You know, like I couldn't believe she'd forgive me, bro, because I just like, no way, I can't even forgive myself. How can you forgive me? But she's just that cold-blooded, right? She's like, I don't do it again and see what happens, right? But I'm not gonna hold it over you every day, right?
Yeah.
And whereas me, I'm eating myself up. I'm looking in the mirror and all I see is ugh, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when I think as a parent, if your kid does something wrong and they pay their penance, try
Yeah.
the best to give legit grace and get over it and move on, and don't be holding it over their head all the time,
Nope. Get
right?
over it. Yeah.
And should be told, that's the same hope and grace I ask for my Lord and Savior. So I'm just hoping I can be the same person to other
Yeah.
people. And if they prove you wrong, then you hold them accountable again. And maybe
That's
you
right.
you have to adjust the consequence, right?
Yeah.
Good information, bro. This is a good question for you, Doug. What's one piece of advice you would give to someone who's struggling in an organization? I mean, think back to when you were that CMC McCampbell, and everybody's got a freaking opinion. You got 385 sailors on your back. What's the advice you give to that dude going through that tough time, bro?
Yeah. I'll tell you, man. It kind of gets to something that you just said, and it's very recently, in the last I don't know, month or so, honestly, since Charlie Kirk's assassination, I've kind of found my way back to faith, and this is I'll get to it, right? So if you're struggling in an organization like that, you got to give yourself grace, right? And the only way you can give yourself grace is if you know that you are given grace by your Savior, right? You know, so I've always heard this thing, man, and I just kind of laughed at it, and I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. It's like, love yourself. It's like, love yourself. Like, this is stupid. You know what I mean? Like, whatever, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that seems like it feels like this very conceited kind of thing. Like, you need to love yourself first. But then you think about it, it's like, if God can love me, then I should probably love me. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's, if you're struggling, then take a step back and realize that, like, you're going to be all right. And, like, ask for grace, ask for guidance, say a prayer, and you're going to be given that. You're going to be given that grace and that guidance if you ask for it.
Yeah.
You know, so
I do know.
Maybe that's not the best, like, organizational leadership tip, but
you know what? There's no one to talk to better than God, bro.
That's right.
And I think that's a lot of us. The devil wants you to feel isolated. He wants you to feel alone. And I will tell you, I've been in some, bro. I remember my last year in the Navy. I really struggled with self-harm, right?
Yeah.
Like, I really hooked because I was so angry at some people, and I felt like the only way I could let people know that it was wrong is that if I did something crazy, right? And oh, by the way, I struggle with it, bro, because once you unlock Pandora's box, it's hard to put it back away. And it's just tough, right?
Yeah.
And really, really tough, because I was legit, like, I couldn't stop. And it was grace and God and my wife and me being honest about all the things I was going through that I needed to do. And I, unfortunately, not everyone needs to be that drastic, right? Or that, but it was just my reality. And unfortunately, when someone's really going through something and they feel like it's everything.
Yeah.
Especially in like when you've given your life to an organization, that's hard to wrap your head around it. The good news story is, and just for you, just so you know, man, it is so amazing on the other side, bro.
Oh yeah.
Like
I'm looking
it
forward
really
to it.
is. But here's the thing. I wish I could tell you it goes away.
Yeah.
It just gets easier, it gets better. But then you'll wake up one day and be like, I feel like ass, right? You'll read a news story, Facebook story. I feel like ass. It's just tough, man. It is what it is. It's hard to, it really is. It's tough. All right, let's go to the next one here. Okay, we're on the ship. It's Saturday night. Are you looking forward to pizza or wings?
Wings, bro. Wings with ranch dressing. Let's fucking go.
Let's go, bro. All right, man. Hey, I need somebody in the birthing cleaners or the working party. Which one do you want?
I'm doing working party.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. It tells a lot about somebody if they choose the birthing cleaner over the working party. And plenty of my brothers do.
I ain't scrubbing heads. I'll hunt boxes all day, dude. I'm good.
I did one of these this morning with another brother CMC of ours over in Bahrain, and he chose the birthing cleaners, and I was not surprised. I'm not. Hey, he's a birthing cleaner kind of a guy. He wasn't. I get it. All right. We're gonna watch a movie in the mess, bro. Would you rather watch De Niro or Pacino?
Pacino.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looking back on your career, what was your favorite duty station?
Right now. The one I'm at right now, SRF, Yokosuka, dude. I am so happy right now.
That's amazing.
I am where I'm supposed to be. It's freaking amazing. I love it. Yep.
I remember. You're on the right track, bro, when you have that feeling.
Yep.
Right. Just so you know, that's another thing that I realized along the way is when I let myself be happy with my present. And then I started being grateful for all the blessings that were there. They kept coming.
Yeah.
I stopped worrying about wasn't there and started valuing the things that are there. Right. Yep. So that's amazing. And I do want to ask you, what do you know what you're going to do in Texas yet? Or you're not quite sure?
Oh, yeah. I got a plan, bro.
Okay.
Yeah. So for you and for your audience, I am so I'm the executive vice president and co-founder of.
Hey, you cut off. What is it? Hold on. I lost you on my speaker or something.
You got me now?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, sorry. So I'm the
executive vice president, co-founder of what?
Executive vice president of a 501c3 nonprofit called the Freedom Contract.
Okay.
So my best friend Matt, the one that I went to boot camp with, and I co-founded it about 3 years ago. So it's a nonprofit that we do home improvements for veterans that basically the VA either can't or won't, right? So, things like maybe they need a new roof, maybe they need a wheelchair ramp, maybe they need, ADA improvements, things that the red tape is just too hard to get through the VA, but they need it, right? So I'm going to work that real hard when I get back.
Nice.
If you'd like to look at it, our website is the Freedom Contract, all one word, .org. So please go take a look at that. So initially when I get out in 27, I'm going to work that. And then either in 2030, but most likely in 2032, I plan to run for the 36th congressional seat in Texas. That's my home district. Right now, Congressman Brian Babin holds the seat, but he's getting up there in years. He'll be 80 in about 3 years, so he's looking to retire soon. And I think that I want to continue to serve in some capacity, and I think that's probably the right capacity for me.
Good for you.
That's what I'm looking for. In the meantime, there's some defense contractors that might want my services. That
Okay. Awesome. I'm glad you got a plan, bro. And that sounds exciting. And
there's some things cooking.
I can see all that. All right. Hey, looking back on your career, what was your favorite Liberty port?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Brother. Oh, jeez. That's a tough one, man. We've talked about Hong Kong.
Yeah.
I'll put it to you this way. Singapore, the way it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Singapore in 2002, before it became what it is now.
Yeah.
So Singapore used to be really cool, man. It was like it was local, right?
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't super expensive, and you could go to the hawker markets, and they were kind of everywhere. And if you went to Clark Key, it wasn't just like super gentrified. So like Singapore, the way it used to be, was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, before technology boomed it up.
Before it became what it is now, right?
Yeah, technology hit it hard.
Yeah. But I gotta say, man, it's hard to beat Hong Kong, circa 2006-ish.
Yeah.
Like it's or 2000, maybe 2003, 2004. It's kind of hard to beat Hong Kong, man. Like Kowloon, Hong Kong side, Lang Kwai Fong, that place was just the jewel of the 7th Fleet, man. It was so good, So
I got it. All right, Hong Kong. I love it. All right, looking back on your career, what was the most challenging qualification you ever had to achieve?
Yeah, so I qualified and stood, and so surface in combat, which is not something that PSs do.
Yeah, for sure.
That's normally, OSs, gunners, mates, FCs. Did that on Fitz. It definitely outside of my wheelhouse. So that's communicating with Alpha Zulu, and basically you are controlling the entire surface picture for the TAO. You have weapons release authority, for harpoon, 25 mic, 5-inch, all these things, right? So that took a lot of learning for me. But it was something I was really, really interested in, and that I wanted to do. It was a personal pride kind of thing, but I got it done, and I stood that watch. And I would be willing to bet that I'm probably the only PS in the history of the Navy that stood surface.
I was just thinking, how many other PSs got qualified surface on an FP&F destroyer, right? And stood it. Like got on the watch, Bill. Yeah. So. All right. I already know what you're gonna say, but I'm gonna ask anyway. If you had a new sailor coming in, would you recommend they do overseas or stateside tour?
I don't know anything about stateside, so overseas.
Okay, I'm the same way though, bro. I've done stateside, I've done overseas. Overseas is, believe it or not, it's just simpler, right? Like almost all my sea duties outside of one ship was Japan, because I just loved walking to the ship, bro, from the base housing. If I got to work 12 hours today, at least I only got to walk home 15 minutes. I don't got to drive home 45 minutes, Exactly. And my wife and I was able to save a bunch of money overseas to really launch into our next phase of life, right? It was a game changer for us.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite movie series?
Yeah, Fight Club. Fight Club, my favorite movie ever.
Fight Club, favorite movie ever? Yeah.
Fight Club is my favorite movie ever.
There's so much to that movie. I could see you loving it. Just point out for people all the parts they're missing.
Yeah. Fight Club. It's been my favorite movie since the first time I saw it. I've got
probably a little bit of an unreasonable man crush on Brad Pitt. Is what it
You
is.
You can write a dissertation on Fight Club and the analysis that comes from it.
Yeah, I mean, I tell my selectees even like, I'm like, you guys ever seen Fight Club? Yeah. I'm like, remember that part when he's like outside the bar and he's like, just ask, man. I'm like, just ask. Just
I can
ask.
see that. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Would you rather be independent or on a team?
I like to be on a team. I do. There's value in both. But like being alone sucks. You know, you get your fill of it. Like
We're not supposed to be alone, bro.
Exactly. Right.
Humans are supposed to be with people. It's just you have to be with the right kind of people, and that trust must be required. That's the thing. There's got to be trust.
That's right.
So I would love to be on a team if I could trust the people on my team, right?
That's right. I want to build my team. How's that? I don't want to be forced into a team. I want to make my team. Yeah.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Okay. Do you have a personal leadership philosophy?
I do. So it's an acronym because we love acronyms. And it's so the acronym is hold fast. You've probably seen it, right? Like tattooed across people's knuckles.
100%.
And then it stands for H is have a plan. O is own what you own. L is lead from the front. D is do what's right. F is fix what's broken. A is ask questions. S is stay motivated. And T is take your time. That's hold fast. And that's all encompassing of everything that I do in the way that I lead people or the way I lead myself.
Love it. Awesome. All right. Next up. Okay. In the Chiefs mess, we got deck plate leadership, institutional technical expertise, professionalism, character, loyalty, active communication, and a sense of heritage. These are our guiding principles. You and I, this is what it's been ingrained in me ever since Joe Campa put them out, right? Out of those principles, which one's your favorite?
Yeah, I mean, it's technical expertise, man. You have to be like, absolutely. I get sick of Chiefs. And I tell my Chiefs this all the time. I just did Chief debriefs because it got extended because our NAFIT sucks because we just made a new. You know what I'm saying? Like we made a new Chief eval.
I'm paying attention.
I love the new Chief eval. Thank you, Jim. I fucking love it. It's so straightforward. You don't have to write a bunch of flowery shit. It's just did this, did this, did this, did this, did this. I freaking love it. Anyways, but technical expertise. I tell my Chiefs this all the time. It's just like we talked about, right? Like you're going to do collateral duties because you have to. Like I need you to. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know how to do your job, like you're kind of pointless, actually.
Yeah. Like
as a chief, like I don't need you to talk about your game, and I don't even need you to like. Like quite frankly, I don't want to talk. I don't want to hear about how good of a leader you are. I don't want to hear your philosophy, anything. I want to know that you know how to get inside a module and fix the gas turbine. I want to know that you know how to do the maintenance on your freaking guns. Like, I want to know that you know how to teach your sailors how to do maintenance on your equipment. Like, I don't actually care about anything else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I do.
100%. Everything else is totally secondary to that.
Yep. So, I remember on the Ashland, me and my top snipe, we would tell Chiefs of the mess that we should be embarrassed if we have to write jobs to fix our own equipment.
That's it.
Like we would be like, you better freaking get the parts, bro. We'll fix it ourselves. Like, unless there is something such a big deal, like, but because underway, no one else is going to help us do the thing. Right. So we have got to have that level of ownership and it works. But you just got to have people that can break them of those bad habits of just thinking they got to write a job for it and it magically goes away. No, bitch, it's still broke. It's still broke.
Yeah. I'm lucky. I'm lucky at SRF, man, because all of my 90% of my chiefs are FTA.
Yeah.
And so they are truly SMEs, right? But they get so frustrated with the waterfront because they show up to the ship and the chief is nowhere to be found. And like, they haven't done basic troubleshooting. And they're just like, Jesus Christ, like, why did you put in OBTA? Like, you haven't even pulled out the manual, bro.
Yeah.
And so, like, it gets frustrating, you know?
I get it. I look, I was a DC man and then I became a CMC, but I never let go of that. If I ever let my sailors work with an SRF guy or something like that, it was a sign of respect, right? Because those are my people. And typically I was the one I wanted you to work with and talk to. But and I hope that our Navy gets back to that, because if you're on a ship, it's the only way to survive. Right? Ultimately, expecting someone else to come fix your gear is not realistic.
That's right.
And it's just how it is, right? And but you got to have that level of ownership. Okay, Dean, would you rather lead or follow?
Lead.
100%. Yeah, I'm not a great follower, bro. I'm really not. I'm that kind of suck at
it. All right, man, that's it. Do you have any saved rounds or alibis?
No, man, I just want to say that I'm really proud of you and what you're doing. And I'm glad that you found your voice. Also, I just, I don't know, man. I hope that you will continue to just grow and blossom and just share all of the things that you love about life and make America great again. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, man. I don't tell my wife this because she'll probably kill me, but I am always looking forward to serving as well. Whether it's in the professional capacity, whether it's in the personal capacity. And I'll tell you something, America is freaking pretty damn great, bro. It's just not great on TV, right? But like where I'm living at in Ocala, Florida, bro, I'll put it to you like this. There's a Netflix special where a lady unfortunately got killed in my community, right? She got shot through the door by another lady. And a bunch of people came to town to make it be a big deal, right? And the locals said, we are going to take care of our community. We don't need all y'all coming from somewhere else to come exacerbate our community as we're working through this sensitive time. And I'd only lived in Ocala about 7-8 months at that point, but our pastor was talking about that on the stage. And I was just like, hell yeah, bro. Like, that's exactly right. Like, people should be able to regulate their communities and tell people that are coming in from somewhere else to agitate. Like, no, bro, we're all a team here. We all live here. This is our community. Get your ass back on the bus and go away. Right? Yeah. Because this ain't Chicago or nothing like that other crap. This is not going to work. And that's what I love about, I don't live in a super small area, but it's nice not being in a big city. Right. But I was nervous about it. I'm not going to lie to you, bro. When I was in Guam watching America burn at the end of President Trump's first administration, I was super skeptical about going back to the States, man. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? But these kids are amazing. There's a lot of great things, and thank God that things are going the way that they're going right now.
I know.
Right. And I'm excited to see where it goes forward, but some days they're not going to go our way, and we'll just keep working the just keep doing what we can.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and I appreciate you being on the show and taking your time to share your authentic story, your real story. Because there was a lot of it I didn't know. It was really cool hearing it and hearing the journey. And I have no doubt someone's going to hear this, and if they're going to take all kinds of things from it. So thank you, bro. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Easy day, brother. Easy day.
Easy day. Hey, stay in touch, man. If I can ever help you in any way, and I will keep you posted when this is going to come out. Okay.
All right, man. Same to you, Gary. If you need anything, let me know.
All day, brother. All right, everybody. Okay. Thank you for listening to the sounds of our voice. We will talk to y'all later. Bye.
And I know I was born for this. I know I was born for this. Don't care for the critics. My words are like physics, a force that they can't stop. They just don't get it, I think they forget I'm not done till I'm on top. I knew I was born for this, I knew